And we are live.
We are live, and here we go. We are ready to unveil the top 37 horror films that made us us. This is the Horror Syndicate Discourse, and of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, which would be a day or two later usually, please hit the subscribe button, give us a like. It helps out very much because we want more people to follow us because we're greedy and selfish.
Very much.
With me, as always, is Jared Letourneau, and I mean always, since 2016. He's wearing the Death Curse Society shirts, repping our friends. If you haven't checked them out, go to Facebook, check them out. Same thing with YouTube. They're a good bunch of guys. We also have Seth T. Miller, the Werewolf Man, back by popular demand, and why not? Should I even bother?
Wow.
Okay, fine. We have Keith Saunders with us. I tease Keith all in fun.
I like how I just
like
immediately knew it was me.
Yeah, you knew. Well, no, actually, I was going to say Nate, but you decided to jump right in. So there you go.
Okay, never mind.
And then we've got the master artist in the house, Nathan Thomas Milliner. I got to say, man, I've seen a lot of your work, and every time I see a piece, it just blows me away. Welcome back. Welcome for joining.
Well, thanks for having me again.
What's that shirt you're wearing there? What's it say?
This was made by my friend Heather Seabuck, who's a really good horror critic herself. She designed this shirt. It's a Park Chan-wook shirt, made to look like Jurassic Park. You know, the director of Old Boy and Lady Vengeance, Thirst.
That's pretty awesome.
So yeah, I was like one of the only few people who bought it. I was like, it's fucking awesome. I mean, so many people think it's Jurassic Park, which I'm not the biggest Jurassic Park guy, but
yeah,
it's like how many Park Chan-wook T-shirts are out there?
Probably not many.
So
yeah,
fun,
I'm always interested in
up.
what people are wearing. Guys want to jump right in, or is there anything you want to talk about before we jump in?
Well, Virginia said Jared's hair is fabulous.
What's new?
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Dapper.
What's new?
It wasn't slick back this
How's
time.
mine? Oh, I don't have any.
Mine used to be about here. Now it's here.
I had a good mullet in 1991, and then, with the times, I had the side, when it split down the middle, pull it up, shave the sides up. It was beautiful. I had beautiful hair. Then I had kids. I lost a lot of it in 2016 when I started the Horror Syndicate, but no. Anyway, how you guys feeling tonight? Feeling good?
Yeah.
Feeling ready?
Yep.
I'm ready to get into our meat and potatoes of the list.
I really don't want to read off 72 movies to recap, but we've gone through a lot of movies. So if you're wondering where a movie is or why it's not on these top 37, we do have two videos that are on Facebook, and then the other one, part 2, will be uploaded to YouTube this evening. You can go back. I'll recap the last 3. How about that? Let's see. Dream Warriors, Freddy's Revenge, and Silver Bullet. And let's go with 37. You guys ready?
Yeah.
I'm hyped.
But
Are our followers hyped? What do you think is going to be number one?
followers
Let
are
us
about
know
to not be
what number
hyped
one
when
will
we
be.
say what it is.
There we go. Yeah. If you're watching, let us know what you think our number one movie is in the comments. Let us know, and I'll tell you you're wrong. Okay, let's go.
Okay, number 37 is Hereditary.
Hereditary. That's on my list.
It's on my list as well.
Yeah. What what is there to say about this movie? It's underrated because it's an art house film. I think it sticks to the landing in the end. It gives, and I've said it, it gives me a Rosemary's Baby vibe at the end. I don't want to spoil it, but I love it. I was very blown away by it, and I guess I do like art house horror. Go figure. Has everybody seen it, or is it just me and?
I have
Nathan?
seen it. I need to rewatch it.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen it.
Yeah, it's
I
a
haven't
good
seen
movie.
it.
Yeah, you haven't seen it?
No.
It definitely feels like two different movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
I'm a little behind on modern horror.
Well, this is a good place to start. It's first of all, some of the best acting in any horror film. Toni Collette,
She's a treasure.
she should have got an Oscar nod for this one.
Yeah, she is a treasure.
And even Gabriel Byrne he doesn't get enough credit for his performance. It's a very small performance. He's observing the madness around him.
Right.
And he does a really great job if you watch his silence, his steadiness of his performance. And then the young kid, Alex Wolff, who's fantastic in it as well. And then Ann Dodd Ann Dodd and Dowd. I can't remember what she's really good in it too. I really liked it, everything about it. It was just one of those movies that has so much depth and so much. You could tell he did his homework. There's things in it. There's a scene in the midway through the movie that is so. It just hits you so hard, like you're just so stressed, and you feel like you can't breathe.
I think I know.
And
what
it's
you're
just-
talking about. Yeah.
It just hits you, and you're like, whoa. Fuck. So it's just one of those movies that just never. It's relentless. It just doesn't let up.
For me, it's one of those rare movies that I didn't need to watch a second time to really enjoy and kind of get. But the second time I watched it, I ended up liking it even more, especially the ending. If you haven't seen Hereditary, and it is getting kind of a bad reputation a little bit. It's kind of mixed, I guess, but check it out, give it a chance. It's definitely worth the trip. I loved it. I thought it was great. You want to move on to 36?
Number 36 is Candyman.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely
I'm
on Ray's
disappointed
list.
at its placing, but I'm glad it's on the list.
I don't know who voted for that one.
I probably did. It's one of my favorite movies. It was one of those that I watched in the early '90s myself, and I didn't like immediately. And then coming back to horror a few years ago, I watched it again. I'm like, holy cow! How did I let this off my radar? This is a damn good movie. Great score, great characters. The Candyman character played by Tony Todd's fantastic. I think just about everybody in this room likes this movie.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie.
I think this was on my list too.
Yeah. What do you got to say about it? What do you got to say?
Well, it was one of those that I saw a long time ago back when I was in high school. I liked it back then, but I didn't overly love it. And then, not even a year ago, I went to go watch it again, and I just loved it all of a sudden.
Man.
So I went out and I bought the Blu-ray.
Yeah. Kind of the same way with me.
Yeah.
I had a similar, when it came out in 92, it was, I knew it was good, but it wasn't like, whoa, that was something special. But I watched it a few years ago again and went, God damn.
Maybe it was a hangover from the '80s, and we were expecting.
I think it
another
was.
slasher.
It was that it fits in the slasher genre, and slashers were kind of like going out of style at that point. So I think we underestimated it. I think we were kind of like, okay, Candyman, okay, whatever. And maybe because the sequels didn't really have as much, it didn't carry on as well. Like stuff in the '80s having successful sequels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember Farewell to the Flesh. I remember liking that. I don't even think I saw any others after that one.
The last one, Tony Todd ignores, so that tells a lot about that. I like the second one quite a bit.
I didn't think the last one was terrible either, though.
No, it's not, but Tony Todd, it's no good. I think the Farewell to the Flesh is a good follow up. Not the follow up that Bernard Rose wanted to do because wasn't a part of it, but it's still not a bad follow up. Virginia's asking, what are you thinking the Candyman remake will go? Good.
Well, it's supposed to be a sequel.
Yeah, it is.
I'm
a
hoping
sequel.
for the best.
I think it's going to be good.
Trailer
Since it is. A
I
sequel.
like the trailer a lot myself.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Jordan Peele didn't direct it, but
He
got
was
his hand on
behind it.
I like his work.
Number 35 is Misery.
I think that was definitely on my list and pretty positive.
I think
Fanny
yeah.
looks.
I think it may have been on mine too.
It's definitely on my list.
I think that slipped my mind when I was coming up with my list.
I was going to say the same damn
A
thing.
couple
It's-
movies slipped my mind when I was making
You
mine.
know, it's probably
That's
not
what's
the right
really
spot
hard with
because of
these.
that.
Yeah.
If Seth and I would have added it to the list, it probably would have jumped up a few spots.
Yeah.
It's a damn good movie. It's got a
Keith-
lot of tension.
Oh yeah.
Great characters.
Keith, do you
well,
wanna
actually,
talk
all the
about it?
characters.
I mean,
Anybody
I
talk
can.
about it.
I mean, I grew up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I grew up watching that movie with a lot of other Stephen King movies. We just seem to have like plenty of those around the house. But I always enjoyed that movie, like the way it's set up. Of course, the characters are amazing. The acting's amazing in it. But the other weird thing with that movie with me is like I never saw. God, why am I blanking on her freaking name? Help me.
Kathy Bates.
Yeah,
Kathy Bates?
Kathy Bates. The first thing I ever saw her in was Waterboy, so I didn't really take her very seriously. And then I saw Misery, and I was like scared.
Football is the devil.
In many ways, Misery was a lot of people's introduction to her.
Yeah, because that was her first like
She's really-
big role.
Yeah, I mean, she'd been around for years, but I think she was more of a theater actress. But yeah, and James Caan, of course, was a legend by then, from Godfather and all that. And then Farnsworth is really fun in it too. I love him and his wife. Their play as a
Poking at
sheriff.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the thing about Misery, I don't think Rob Reiner gets enough mention for producing two of the best Stephen King movies, right? Directing Misery and Stand By Me.
I think he's forgotten actually when it comes to this movie. I honestly, because I always forget that he's a part of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's given us two of the best Stephen King adaptations in my opinion, and Misery is top 10 '90s horror film in my book.
It's a super smart movie though, because every time I watch it, like I'm still like I get enthralled with how he's trying to escape and like the way he's hiding things and trying to sneak around the house because I've never been in that situation, and most movies like that I'm like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. But he's like super smart at it and doing things that I would think I would be smart enough to do.
I got the penguin too.
I was gonna say
Hey!
almost. Yeah, he forgot one thing.
Yeah, he forgot the penguin.
And then we got Lauren Bacall in this film, man, legend. I mean, that's one of my favorite actresses of all time. I mean, she's not in it a lot, but
No. Small role, but
Yeah.
still pretty cool to see her in it.
Okay, number 34. We are back again with Stephen King. This was on my list. Dr. Sleep.
That was on my list as well. I was surprised with this movie. I was one of the few people who didn't make it to the theater to watch it, and I feel very ashamed and disappointed in myself that I didn't because it.
You and a lot of people.
Yeah, I
Like, so
know
many
a lot of
I
people
saw
did.
Didn't go see it, and the movie didn't make any money. It failed at the box
Yeah.
office.
That's why I'm
Yeah, I
disappointed
paid
now.
my due. I saw it in the theater. Double feature with Zombieland Double Tap.
And now I'm disappointed in myself because there might have been more if it would have made more.
Yeah,
it might
well,
be-
yeah, you'd have made another $10 if you gone.
It was my second favorite film of last year. I just absolutely loved it. I've always been a big fan of Ewan McGregor anyway. Mike Flanagan is just a solid filmmaker. Everything he does, consistent. He works his ass off. And he seems so humble, man. If you watch interviews with him, he's just a guy out there doing it. And I don't know, I loved it. I loved Abra. I loved
She was great.
Rose the Hat was fantastic.
Oh my god. if you didn't fall in love with the villain of the story,
Yeah.
By the end of that movie, you have problems because
She was sexy, man.
oh my god, everything about her with that hat on. Like I'd seen her in other things, of course, but then she puts that hat on. It's like, oh my god, who are you?
I've watched this movie twice before, and every time I see the lady in the hat's +2, all I see is Jared.
What?
Oh, the what's his name?
I can't remember his name, but every time I watch it, I'm like, it looks just like Jared. It could
In
be
a good way.
It could be, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he starts crushing on him right then and there because.
And then the one of the murder scenes in the film is one of the hardest things I've ever sat through.
The kid.
Yeah, and Jacob, that's his name, Timbley, right? He was so good. I heard that the actors were all pumped up, ready to do it. Let's do this, and he was so real and so great that it was bothering them. They were upset. They were crying. The actors were just taken out of their game because they were so emotionally struck by this kid's performance, and it was just difficult for them to do it. And I think it's
believe.
To follow Kubrick, I think he did it. And the whole part where we get to the Overlook and we see all those classic ghosts and everything again was just thrilling. It was just so exciting to see that.
I think that's part of the issue with the movie is that not for me, but I've read and heard people complain because it deviates from the book way too much, and I think I was happy that they found a way to make it a sequel to the movie and the Shining in general, but people were because the Overlook is not in the book, and I mean the ending is completely different, but I don't know, it worked really
people.
well. Yeah, well, you know how people
if you're going to make a sequel to The Shining, if you're going to make a film, if you want to stick to Stephen King's vision, read the books, leave it alone.
Yeah,
but this is the cinematic adaptations of those two novels,
and I don't see how I don't see how you cannot make Doctor Sleep without trying to connect it with the original movie. I don't see how.
And audiences are going to expect that.
Yeah, I think movie audiences would for sure. It's a good movie though. I love it. I bought it immediately. I saw it. I like I said, I did a double feature with Zombieland 2, and I did that first, and watched Doctor Sleep. And thank God, Doctor Sleep was so good. Zombieland 2 is okay. Doctor Sleep was so good. That's another one of those that. And I rarely say this. I was ready to watch it again after I walked out of the theater. I could have turned right back around and watched it again.
I think
I loved it. Go ahead.
I think the only thing I wish they could have done in Doctor Sleep is pulled some kind of movie magic and stuck Jack Nicholson in.
Well, I was going to bring something up that. I thought it'd been funny. As good as little Elliot from E.T. was as Jack Torrance, I would like to have seen Christian Slater play.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been good. I will. One last thing for me is Jocelyn Donahue's in the movie, and I love her. So she's in House of the Devil, one of my favorite movies from the 2000s. So just want to throw that out there. She doesn't get much love. She's also in one of the Insidious movies. I think the second one.
And then the girl, I don't know the actress's name, but she was the star of Starry Eyes, which is another really great modern horror film.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
She played Wendy Torrance in this, and
she was good too.
Ed Ringer as not exactly Shelley, but I bought her as Wendy.
I mean, this is probably not a good thing to say, but seeing her in that role made me want to see them redo The Shining, remake it. But that we don't need that. But anyway.
All right, number 33 is In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
Carpenter.
Anything to say?
No, I was writing it down. Who put this on their list?
It's not on mine.
It's on mine.
Seth had it. I don't think it was on mine. I do love that movie.
I may have had it on my list. It's another Stephen King feeling movie, but John Carpenter and H.P. Lovecraft all thrown in the bucket and kind of mixed around. Seth, what do you got to say about this one? Besides, it's fantastic.
Well, first off, it's fantastic. No, but that's a movie that kind of blew my mind when I first watched it. It was recommended to me by an employee of Blockbuster when I revealed that I was a huge John Carpenter fan. I was really kind of discovering his films at the time, and I never heard it. And then I watched it, and by the end, I was just like, "Holy shit!" And I had to watch it again. Sam Neill is terrific in that movie. That's
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's his finest performance. Um,
You must not have seen The Omen 3, the final conflict.
I may debate you on that.
I'm joking.
His performance in The Possession was badass. But
Possession, yeah. I was about
He's
to
just
say
a really good
Possession.
actor in general.
Yeah,
But I agree with Seth. I think this is probably his finest role, finest performance.
yeah, it's kind of like mind bending at the end. Um, it, and it's a nice little love letter to Lovecraft and Stephen King, and just a great movie.
It really is, and the location where they found Hobbs End, and the beginning of the movie, whenever the guy with the axe. I mean, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And this,
Mm-hmm.
I think when people think of John Carpenter, they start thinking of a couple movies here and there, and this is one I think that does get kind of forgotten, as Virginia Buchanan has never seen this, unfortunately. Might be kind of
That's one of I'd say it's one of Carpenter's creepiest, scariest films.
yeah.
It was really
Yeah,
creepy.
I
Creepy
I
images.
prefer this to Halloween. Just gonna throw that out there.
Just well, I mean, the visual of like the kid on the bike who can't leave
On the
town.
bike.
Yeah,
Just the dream sequence he had where the guy with the axe got surrounded, and like there's all like different like really cool like designs.
well, there's little things, that painting in the little bed and breakfast, and
Yeah.
the attendant and her husband. It's really such a good movie, and it's one I absolutely recommend to anybody who just likes horror in general, not just Carpenter.
I think my favorite scene's like when he's on the bus and he has the dream and he's visited by Sutter Kane, and he's like,
Mm.
"Did I ever tell you my favorite color is blue?" And then he wakes
Yeah.
up and it's
yeah.
That's so cool.
yeah.
Keith, did you ever get the chance to watch this one?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay,
I think I watched it maybe 3 months ago. I bought it.
what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I feel like everybody's like hype for it got to me a little bit because I wasn't like blown away by it, but I enjoyed it. I like Sam Neill a lot.
Keith does not believe in the hype train. All right.
Mm-hmm.
What's number 32?
Number 32 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2.
That was
Part two.
probably on my list.
That was on my list.
May have been on mine. That's a fun ass movie. So different than the original. That's
Yep.
one of the things I love about it. Plus, Bill Moseley is
Yeah, it's on my list.
super.
Star was born right there, man.
Yeah, he was superb in that movie.
That,
Yeah.
that movie, I watched. I was just telling Seth about this because we were just talking about it. But I watched that movie the beginning of last year because it was on Prime, and I think I'd only ever seen the original and like the remakes. So I was like, let's just give it a shot. And like, it is so fun and wild, and I like it more than all the other ones I've seen. But
It's the second
it's
best.
such a different movie, and I love it. I love Bill Moseley. I love the way Leatherface is in his suit, and they're giving each other freaking high fives, and it's just so fun. And then the dinner
What a
scene at the
great-
end.
What a great final setting. That amusement
Mhm.
park set is just phenomenal. I don't know what the budget. It couldn't have been a big budget, but it looks like a huge budget because of that set.
Well, I think they blew most of their budget on the chainsaws. Dennis Hopper and
Yeah, Dennis Hopper. This movie has Dennis Hopper in
yeah,
it.
and he's
Going
awesome.
batshit crazy with a big giant chainsaw. That scene where he gets the chainsaw is so Tuco and Good, the Bad, and Ugly. I love it. Like when Tuco goes to get a revolver and he's taking parts apart and he goes out there to test it. I love that, and I love God. Stretch is such a great
She is.
protagonist. Like Carolyn Williams is just so fun, and I don't know. It's just very unique movie all around. And then you get to see the cook more, and he has he's great in it. And
One of the hard shell peppercorns.
I wish the Joe Bob scene was added back to the Scream Factory Blu-ray, but it's not.
There's a lot about that movie that I love. The cook is one of my favorite parts because but the family dynamic is a little bit different. And the best part that every time I think about it when I watch it, I think about how Toby Hooper made that in the original, and they're so different. It just shows how good of a director Toby Hooper is. I love it. Are we not going to talk about the scene where Leatherface, with the ice and Stretch and the chainsaw and touching the
Oh,
private? Anyway, I love it. Texas Chainsaw 2 is great.
yeah,
Chris
it's a
Hall
great.
says, I colored an In the Mouth of Madness shirt for Rotten Cotton. I love that movie. You're not alone, but we didn't color it, but you're not alone in loving that movie.
Number 31 is The Fog. The remake.
The 2005 classic
I was
with
like,
Tom
what?
Welling, yeah.
Yeah, that
Starring Smallville actor.
one was not on
Tom
my
Welling.
No,
list.
not the remake. The only fog that exists is on our
Yes.
list.
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
True.
You don't have any kind words for the fog? Oh,
I don't have a thing to say nice about that remake. I think
I will say I like the truck.
and
Okay.
I'm easy and yeah,
Yeah, I think the
I think that's
fog.
the worst one I've ever seen.
This is one of Carpenter's finest movies, in my opinion. He did so much with so little, and I think the end is superb, and I don't mean the very end. I mean when they're all in the church, and
The final act.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
because there's a very end, like the last scene and everything. Like Carpenter's
Last-
in it, too.
The third act, yeah.
Yeah, it's I love Adrienne Barbeau in that movie. Superb movie. It's better than Halloween. I'm gonna say that about every Carpenter movie.
Yeah, I love The Fog too. It's for actually a long time that was my favorite Carpenter movie. I love the score.
Mhm.
I
The
love
score
it.
is fantastic. My favorite
Yeah, it
thing
is.
about that.
Yeah, I love the cast.
Sure.
The locations.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a cool ghost story too.
Mhm.
You know.
It's just the history of this town is so questionable. How the town was built, and they're coming back to. I love it. I think John Carpenter. So Halloween, I say that a lot. And I'm joking for the most part. Halloween is a legendary movie, but I think Carpenter did get better over time. That's why I say things like that. If I made a list, it'd be over.
I love all of Carpenter's films, so it's kind of hard for me to.
I can't say I love them all
Same
because
here.
I don't think I've seen them all.
But all of his film, like he's not a director who repeats himself. He's like every movie is different.
Yeah.
They all have their own individual strengths, especially his early ones. But
Even his non-horror ones, I'm fucking in love with.
Starman is great.
Yeah, Starman. I grew up on that one, man. I watched
Big Trouble in Little China. Oh my
Big
god.
Trouble. Big Trouble is my second favorite Carpenter movie. So yeah.
Memoirs of the Invisible Man.
They Live.
Yeah, Chevy Chase.
Yeah, They Live. That's a good. Is that a horror movie or no?
Yeah.
I'd say it's more sci-fi.
Science fiction
I
movie.
think most people
Yeah.
put it in horror. I never thought of it as a horror movie.
I think it's just because of the association of John Carpenter.
Yeah, because it's like, did you put Big Trouble in there too? I mean, come on.
I tell you the one that is overlooked. It's not really, I guess, it's not a feature. But even when I did a collage of Carpenter's work, Carpenter didn't even know what it was. Somebody showed it to him and said, "What's this one?" But Cigarette Burns.
Oh,
Yeah.
from the
Phenomenal movie.
Fucking
That's
love
the
that
best
one.
of the Masters of Horror. And
the Masters of Horror series.
Yeah.
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 he did the best one. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Cigarette Burns is the best episode, hands down.
Yeah.
And I went and rewatched The Ward, and I enjoyed it the second time around.
I've never seen that one, and I've
It's
heard
not as
a lot
bad
of
as
good
people
things
make
about
it out to be. Amanda Heard actually did a
I've heard
really
it's
good
good.
job.
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard, yeah, she did a really good job in it.
Is she related to Peter Wilmer?
God dang it.
Damn it.
Okay, number 30. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
Why is it number 30? It should be number 2.
It's my favorite Friday movie. I don't think it was
Mine
on
too.
my list, though.
It was on my list.
It's
On my
not
list.
even in my top 50, bitches.
I bet Part 4 is.
It sure is.
Part 4 is just like The Prowler, super boring.
Even though you like the Jason best,
No, I don't. I like CJ the best. I've said that.
but you do like Ted. Okay.
I do like
Moving
10.
on.
I like Part 6 is the best. It's the most balanced Friday the 13th movie there is. It's got great characters. It's got kids in a camp. I mean,
It was the first to integrate kind of like tomfoolery a little bit.
I do like that it starts, boom, right out the gates, and it just keeps going. It's like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
no slow build up to Jason's. Like, no, Tommy's here. It's like high speed, boom, brings them back. We're on
And
a ride the whole movie.
and how classic is the resurrection scene, and then the James Bond opening? I mean, with the credits,
It's
that's so
true.
great. It's
It's
so
just
much
a
fun.
great. Tommy was so good at balancing all of it because, like,
Yeah.
even the classic, like the kid. So what were you gonna be when you grew up? Or it's just such a great movie. Great. I love the characters. I love Tom Matthews as Tommy Jarvis. He's my favorite Tommy Jarvis.
It's
Um,
it's
I
a
think
fun movie
I would
overall.
agree with that. That's
It's
Tommy
also
Jarvis.
probably the most kid-friendly Friday the 13th movie, if there ever is one. Even though, he bends a guy in half and rips somebody's heart out. And
and you got an Alice Cooper soundtrack. So
yep, man behind my kids love that song.
I have that song on my iPod.
have
Hey,
my daughter singing it
It's
when
the
she was.
man behind
That
the
is the
mask.
perfect Friday the 13th movie. I'm telling you. Okay? Perfect.
It's one of the top two.
Stop. Okay.
Yeah. Number 29 is one of mine. I know. Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers.
I almost put this on my list because it's my favorite sequel. For
Mine
sure.
too.
It's on my list.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, you just talked about your love for Halloween 4 the other day. What Nate and I talked about a while ago. One of my favorite parts of the entire movie, and it's not really a big deal, and I don't know how many people notice it. And we talked about how awesome the credits were, and how that we were happy that they did the credits in 2018 the way they did. But the opening credits for Halloween 4 set up the entire movie perfectly. I absolutely love it.
I think it's a kind of universal opening that's loved because when we were doing Encyclopedia Satanica, me and my editor and my DP were in the editing booth and we're editing the film, and I said, we need an opening, we need something to set the mood because it's set on Halloween, and my DP says, you know what my favorite opening of any movie ever is? And I said, Halloween 4. He goes, yes. I was like, let's do it. So that we homage that in the beginning of our movie, and it just automatically elevates something. It just presents your atmosphere, your setting. Here it is. This is what you're in store for. Automatically, you're in it. You feel like October. You feel it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's another thing I love about that film is Daniel Harris gives one of the best child performances I've seen, and her chemistry with Ellie Cornell is just wonderful. I love the two of them together.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, the movie has a lot of flaws. But I love Donald Pleasance in it. I think it's one of my favorite Loomis films, and his scene with Reverend Sayer.
Oh, man.
His scene with Reverend Sayer is one of my favorites. That conversation they have in the truck.
You're chasing it, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're a pilgrim. Yeah.
You can't kill damnation, mister.
No.
Don't
That's
die
that's
when man dies.
that's a super awesome scene. That's one of my favorite scenes. I actually love the part before that where the college students or high school students tease Loomis a little bit. It's like, yeah, that's Illinois. I live in Illinois, so I know they're dicks like that. But even though it's Utah, but I love for. I mean, think about being a kid in the '80s and you see Freddy and Jason all over the place, and you like the first two Halloween movies, and you're waiting for Michael Myers to come back, and this is how they do it, and they do it in a great way, in my opinion. Seth, I know you're a big fan of the proposed Halloween 4, but let's talk about your love for Halloween 4 for a minute.
Yeah, no, it's one of the best and most rewatchable sequels, in my opinion. I think it's got good atmosphere, good performances. Like Nate said, Pleasance gives his best Loomis performance. I love, all the characters, even the ones that were kind of not supposed to be very likable. I thought were kind of likable.
Sausage Jensen's really likable,
He's
despite
great.
being a douchebag in some ways in the movie.
And like
His death is brutal.
yeah, his little scene at the end, or his little scene with Michael on the stairs, and he's trying to buy Rachel and Jamie some time, and it's just a great scene.
Well, he uses his hands a lot more in that movie, Michael.
Yeah.
You don't even really think about it, but I mean, killing Sasha Jensen like that, and then the ambulance driver thumb through the forehead. Oh my god!
It just starts really like even once we get past the montage of scenery, we get into that mental institution and the guard laying it on heavy like Friday the 13th level of
Oh yeah,
15 years ago, 10 years ago, this guy killed 15 people trying to get to his sister. Nearly got it too. And he just gives this whole thing, and you hear people screaming.
Jesus.
Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place.
Yeah.
You know? It's really hokey, but it's fun. You know, it's just a fun movie. Like Seth said, it's just very rewatchable. And I like the biggest complaint I see about the movie, because some people hate it, is the mask. People can't get past the mask. They hate the mask. Mask never bothered me.
Did you see Part 5?
That's
Did you see
horrendous,
H2O? H2O had like Maskgate. Let's hashtag Maskgate for H2O. That had so many different masks and even a CG mask. Part 4 is bad, but there are worse masks than. And also think about it. It's a new mask. It shows him literally grabbing the damn mask at the general store, right?
Yeah, think about how cheap reproductions are of masks at the general store.
Well, you think about exactly. That's a good point. So it fits, and now he's got the same mask in Part 5, and it's completely different. We're gonna have a full Halloween episode eventually. So
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just that. I mean, it was the mask was bad too, but it was also like the body pads on George Wilbur.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like a fucking like I don't know, like a plush doll or something. You know,
it's like a wrestling
buddy.
buddy.
Gets up from the getting hit by the truck.
Yeah,
remember Wrestling Buddies? He looked like a wrestling buddy. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily he got a better look for Part 6 when he came back. So
Yeah, I like George Wilbur as Michael.
He didn't need all those paddings.
No.
No.
All right. Halloween 4 is great. So what's number 28?
28 is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the Don Siegel remake from '78.
It was on my list.
I think it was on mine.
I love the way it's filmed and it's the way it's edited. It's very paranoid, and
it is. But how laid back is everybody? And like not Goldblum, but Leonard Nimoy. I mean, I know what's going on, but his character's amazing in that movie. Of course, everybody else puts in a great performance, but Leonard Nimoy alone, he is fantastic.
Yeah,
and so is Goldblum and Sutherland.
Yeah,
everybody.
I'm a huge fan of the book, and the movie from the 50s was very close to the book, and the one from '78 wasn't. But I prefer the 1978 remake over the original. Just the actors and the performances and the way it was filmed, and then there's that ending, which is one of my favorite endings ever. Yeah.
I have yet to see it yet. I have it picked it up this month, so I will be watching it sometime soon.
I think you'll like it, even though it's pre-1996.
Well, I love Jeff Goldblum, so I imagine I will like it.
He's really good in that movie. I'll be honest with you, when I went back to watch it a few years ago, I forgot he was in it. And I absolutely suggest the 56 version is so good. And the main character, his name is escaping me. He's in it in the remake for a split second.
Yeah, McCarthy.
Yeah. Chris Hall says, I love the whole Curse of the Thorn idea. That's another episode. All right.
Whole another theme.
It's on my shirt, so can't really say anything.
All right, number. Did Seth have something to add? Somebody start?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Number 27 is a movie we just covered a whole episode on, Phantasm.
I'm gonna imagine.
Great movie. One of the best movies of the late 70s.
It's on my list too.
Yeah,
it wasn't on my top 50.
Probably on mine. I love it. It's a good movie. We do have an episode on it, so go watch that and then come back and watch this.
Catch up. Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the next one since we did do a whole episode on Phantasm. 26 is The Beyond.
Yes.
Holy moly.
Take it away, Jared. You're the resident Fulci, and I know Keith hasn't seen this one.
I don't think I have seen this one.
I saw this movie about 16 years ago or more under a different name. The American film was called Seven Doors of Death. and I had no idea what I was watching when I saw it then.
Even after it ended.
Obviously edited. But The Beyond is by far and large my favorite Lucio Fulci film ever. Like, I have had it. I had it in my top 10. That's how much I love that movie. There's so much going on in this movie. You have the supernatural, and like you like literally have like spiders biting people. You have dogs biting people. You have
Ripping tongues
witches.
out.
You have warlocks. You have everything that you could fucking possibly think of in this fucking movie.
No Michael Myers.
No Michael Myers though.
That means it sucks, because Halloween 3 sucks for that reason.
That's true. I had it number 13 on my list. It's not my favorite Fulci, but I think it's better than my. I go back and forth between this and City of the Living Dead, but yeah,
I
man.
know you do.
Let's talk about the ending for a second, Jared, if we can, because that is probably the best ending and the most bleakest ending of any of his films, and maybe any horror film of all time. So it's got a great ending, better than City of the Living Dead's, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Which City of the Living Dead's ending was amazing too, but I mean, like, as you were alluding to, like, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, like, this gal, she buys a hotel, and we soon find out that
she
in the
inherits
basement
hotel.
of this hotel is one of the 7 gates of hell. And all of these things start happening to her and to the people who are renovating this hotel. And it just escalates into this bizarre ending. And once it actually fits into the ending, you're like, there is nowhere else you can go. Like, you are gone.
And it gets built up by one of the characters that actually comes back from the beyond. Her name's Emily. So it's a good Fulci movie. It's on Shudder. Check it out. It's got gore for you gore hounds. A lot of gore. Great effects for the 1981 when it came
I could
out.
probably talk on an entire episode about that.
Yeah, I
movie.
probably could too. I love the movie. I'm a big Fulci fan.
Let's do an episode on that one, because that's one I'd like to watch again and dissect. Because I've seen it once.
Best part about doing an episode on it is then we have to make Keith watch it, and he hates these movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out. Seth, have you ever seen it?
I have not.
Yeah, see, when I got back into horror in 2016 to 2015, like, I saw people posting about these movies I'd never heard of. I was like, I thought I liked horror, but I've never heard of The Beyond. What the hell is that? And I found it. It was on, I think it was on Shudder, or not Shudder, Amazon at the time, or something. I don't remember where I saw it. Hulu. It was on Hulu. And I saw it, and I remember looking at my wife, and she looks at me and goes, what the fuck did you just watch? Like, brilliance is what we watched. This was amazing. It was amazing. I love it. It's good. And if you're not familiar with Lucio Fulci, he made the zombie, or zombie flesh eaters. Really good gore. Godfather gore. He's the second Godfather gore. So, all right.
Italian Godfather.
All right, we are at our top 25, guys.
Here we go. Top 25. It's party time.
Part time.
Party time.
What lines again?
This is probably on my list. This is I'm pretty sure the first horror film I probably watched is Poltergeist.
Pretty sure this one's on my
Yes,
list.
the 2015 classic.
It is on my list. The movie's just, I mean, it's Poltergeist. It's fun.
It's another one that escaped my top 50 because there's just so goddamn many movies.
I know, but this is a great movie. I mean, it starts out with what life was like in 1982 in Cuesta Verde.
Just got it today.
The scene where the guy is riding the bike holding a case of beer is amazing, and then the kids are teasing him with the remote control cars, and he drops some beer, and then they're playing with the remotes. That's such an 80s. I love it. And the the character building in just those first 10 or 15 minutes of the Freelings is so great.
Love the Freelings, man.
Yeah,
the family.
You fall in love with the family immediately, and they did a great job. Who made this movie?
Steven Spielberg.
And Toby Hooper.
It's completely Steven Spielberg.
Okay, so anyway,
but the thing I have to say about Poltergeist, arguably the best ending of a film ever.
Which part? Just when they push the TV
when
out?
They go to the Holiday Inn and he pushes the TV out on the balcony and goes back in. I just fucking love that. That is totally Spielberg. That is a Spielberg moment. That's that little touch. It's so perfect. It's a perfect cherry on the top of that movie.
Yeah, it's another one of those that people come over to watch horror with me. I put that one on. I feel like Poltergeist is, in my opinion, it is a top 25 horror movie of all time, regardless of our list, or it should be on everybody's list, in my opinion, Jared.
It could be argued that it's the best haunted house movie, and next to The Haunting, maybe the 63. I can't, if not best, top 5.
Yeah,
or even top 3.
And I gotta be honest, I really enjoy the second movie quite a bit.
I do too. Yeah,
it picks up a couple years later and everything, and the curse is fallen, because one of the best parts about the series, in my opinion, is Reverend Kane.
Kane is terrifying in that scene.
Oh my God, Julian Beck was amazing in that role. I mean, Poltergeist 3 is not as great as but there's reasons. There's a lot of reasons. A lot of the cast didn't either come back or get asked back, and then the girl who plays Carolyn,
she passed away right after that.
Yeah, and plus, of course, it's got a famous curse. The Poltergeist curse. But the movie is such a great legendary ghost story movie. I love it. It's one I could watch anytime. It's one that you can show your kids.
Yeah, that's a good starter for young.
It just really bums me out when I see Dominic.
The first one I saw. That I remember watching that and the Twilight Zone, the movie, a lot in my early years, because
it's another one, isn't it? That's got a curse.
Yeah, they got that new series on Shudder called Cursed Films. Yeah. They got one on Twilight Zone.
Well, yeah, there was a couple of guys that died in the Vietnam sequence in that.
Yeah,
movie.
The 2 kids and Vic Morrow were basically chopped in half by the helicopter. Which really, I hate to say this. I know it's Seth's film, man, but John Landis. That show really revealed how reckless that guy was. Mm-hmm. I was really stunned to hear his behavior on Twilight Zone, and a lot of that should have. He's damn lucky he's not in prison.
Chris Hall said, "Bore Bob the plumber. What the fuck did he ever do to anyone?"
Yeah, he just wanted to fix the pipes. That's what they're beyond. Yeah, okay. He knows.
We won't go into that.
I could go right back to Fulci anytime, but Poltergeist is a great movie. John Landis, that sucks. At least if he would have gone to prison, we still would have had an American Werewolf in London. So,
yeah, we would have had that one. Yeah. We would have missed Coming to America, I guess.
No!
Don't say that.
I love that movie.
It had sexual chocolate.
Yep.
Sexual chocolate, ladies and gentlemen.
Sam Jackson, brother. Okay, what are we on?
24.
24 is the Horse Nigget's favorite film, The Evil Dead, 1981.
All right, so
that may have been on mine. I don't remember.
I like
Evil Dead. Mine.
I may complain about it because I don't think it's the best horror movie of the 80s, or Evil Dead 2 for that matter, Keith. The Evil Dead movies are fun. They're fan favorites for sure.
It's number 24. It's not the best.
No, because Evil Dead 2 is probably number 1. And Army Dark number 2. And Evil Dead 2013 is number 3. I love it. My favorite part of the whole movie though is whenever Cheryl is possessed and pencil.
She's counting the cards.
Yes, that whole
fucking love it.
Fucking amazing. It's brilliant. I mean, for the rest of the movie, it's good. Too. Man, that scene is amazing. And Evil Dead 2 is probably a go-to for me to watch if I'm going to watch an Evil Dead, honestly. But the first one's way better. So much better. and I think it has a lot to do with the way it was made and less comedy. Comedy's fine in horror, but it doesn't make a horror movie for me.
First time I watched Evil Dead, I was by myself in the living room, lights off, watching it, and it just creeped me out.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi's, that his style of when you see the Evil Dead's point of view going through the woods and just the join us thing in the soundtrack and the he's got this unique style of filmmaking. I mean, huge influence like the Stooges. So there's all that slapstick, but his vision and his style was so influential that the Coen brothers basically adopted it in the early days. If you watch Blood Simple and Raising Arizona, there's totally Sam Raimi in there, and Joe was the editor on Evil Dead, Joe Cohen, but yeah, I mean, the Evil Dead is just so unique. There's something so unique about Sam and Bruce. They just really stand out right away. There's nobody like them. And that movie just, I mean, I don't know. I do think it's a special movie. For a movie that's that low budget to be considered such a classic of that decade that has so much going for it.
Yeah.
That whole decade. I think it says a lot for Evil Dead.
There's one thing brought up in the comments was something I wanted to talk about, and it's not particularly my cup of tea, but the rape scene, the tree rape scene, is actually really well done. But Chris Hall says, and where else do you ever have seen a rapey tree?
A rapey tree.
Rapey trees, yeah.
It was a very effective scene.
I love the physicality of the Deadites. The like it's like this weird movement. It's not zombie. So yeah, and then like just Linda giggling like we're gonna get you. It's just something so off-putting that it's funny, but it's terrifying at the same time.
And I go back to Cheryl. It's Cheryl, right? Okay. When she gets tossed into the cellar, and all that is so good. And one of the best parts about the 2013 is when they were redoing that with what's her name, Jane Levy's character, and Evil Dead's it's a legendary horror movie.
Yeah, when I watch those first two Evil Dead movies, I feel like I'm in that cabin with them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm there. It just takes me there. And, a lot of that is just, I think, Sam's filmmaking. I mean, we got more to talk about, but let's go ahead and jump to 23. Is Day of the Dead.
Ooh.
That was on my list, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that's on my list too.
This is Tom Savini's masterpiece.
Yep.
I said that to him, and he kind of just gave me a okay.
I've noticed he has that effect on people at conventions. He's very nonchalant.
He looked like he was sleepy, honestly.
I think he's shy. I think there's a shyness to Tom. I mean, a lot of artists are.
But he's really good in an interview. I've noticed that. Because Jared got, what did you get signed? The Night of the Living Dead poster behind you?
I got his remake, signed. Got a picture with him.
I love Day of the Dead.
Said maybe 2 words.
He's a man of few words. Except for in an interview. I love Day of the Dead. Who else loves Day of the Dead?
Me.
I do.
I do.
Okay. The effects are great. Rhodes is an awesome character. The story is very bleak. The characters really hold the show. I mean, okay, who is your favorite character in Day of the Dead? I mean, mine's obvious. It's Rhodes because I'm a prick and he is too. He's running this monkey show.
I like Frankenstein myself.
Yeah, I like the Doctor.
Really, really interesting. Really.
Yeah.
I do too, but I love Rhodes because he's a jerk and he gets his comeuppance.
Also,
Big
like,
time.
I've only seen this movie once, and it's on my top 50 list because I recently watched it when we did the Day of the Dead show, which was was that like our first episode, wasn't it? Second?
It was the only episode Nate wasn't on.
Yeah. I watched it then. So I'm not familiar with all the characters' names, but I love the 2 people who live in the camper out in the tunnels.
Yeah, well, I think there's not a lack of good characters. Even Greg Nicotero's in the movie.
I think
But
there's a character for everybody in that movie.
yeah,
It's his
I
scariest
agree.
movie. It's his scariest zombie movie too, of Romero's movies.
Oh yeah, by far. I don't think I saw it. The first time I saw it was in the early 2000s, and when it came out on DVD the first time, and I was really blown away because I saw Dawn of the Dead earlier in life, like 16, 17 years old, and it's good, it's grim, but it's goofy, especially when the end when they had the fucking pies in the face and all that, and then they play that song, dun, dun, dun. But then
The Gronk song. Dun, dun, dun.
when I was expecting going in to see Day of the Dead, I was kind of expecting a similar type of movie, and no,
My
the
alarm clock
effects were
song.
amplified. They're so much better. Yeah.
Freaking face ripping scene.
There's a lot of iconic moments and iconic things that you think of with zombies that come from Day of the Dead. Like even when if you ever played Resident Evil as a kid, I think it was 2. There's a scene where you see a newspaper that says "The Dead Walk." That comes straight from the Day of the Dead. And not to mention, let's not talk about the scene where the zombie comes out of the building with an alligator. That's all.
We haven't even talked about Bub.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nobody's mentioned Bub. Forget Bub.
Okay, number 22 is Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter.
All right, I'm gonna take a nap.
Dick.
I'm guessing that was Jared and who else?
Probably.
So this is the
usually
Prowler
the
Part
fan
2,
favorite.
starring Jason.
This was definitely in my top 10.
It is a great. It's one of the top 2 Friday the 13th movies, and Ted White is awesome. He brings a whole new level to Jason. Absolutely, like people do say that Richard Brooker's their favorite, but they changed the look ever so slightly. He's darker, and I like that much better. He's not pastel.
Who says Richard Brooker is their favorite?
There's a lot of people that do, believe it or not.
Ted White's body language was just so intimidating.
Oh, for sure. When he breaks through the fucking wall at the end.
Yeah.
Or to the door.
He's the first brutal Jason in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Very
Cold. Yeah.
Well, Steve Dash was brutal because he collapsed in a chair.
Yeah. I love Dash, but I think I'm not a big Brooker fan, but I do like Ted White. There's just something. Maybe it's the shower scene or something like.
Oh my god!
There's just like you said, intensity, a physicality that it's. I mean, only Kane kind of trumped it, in my opinion. Like Kane was the only one who was even more like a fucking battering ram, Jason. But Ted White's probably my second favorite Jason.
Yeah, there's the one scene that I always think of when I think of one of the most hardcore Jasons is the scene where he's getting hit in the fucking face with a hammer. I know it's his mask, but she's hit him in the face with a hammer, and he's like not flinching.
And it's my favorite mask too. And I love that the mask keeps getting more damage and damage as the
Throughout
movie
the movie,
goes on, keeps changing. And Tal Savini's makeup, the direction's really good. The
death scene at the end is amazing.
Yes.
The death scenes, Tom Savini's work on it is brilliant. Of course, it's another one of his masterpieces.
Because he was trying to kill Jason off for the last time.
My only knock on it is it's just very repetitive. It almost feels like a remake of the first 3
Prowler?
movies.
Hey.
Very thin.
The Joseph Zito is not a very good director, in my opinion. He repeated himself with Friday. He just put Jason into the Prowler. That's all he did. I'm sorry.
Hey, now.
The Prowler is really boring, and Friday the 13th 4 has become the same way to me. That's how it is. I like it, but it's not the best. And neither is Part 3 for all you people watching. Just because he gets the mask in that movie doesn't mean it's the best Friday the 13th movie.
I mean, the final chapter is my favorite of the Friday the 13th movies. I kind of look at it. I really love the early Paramount Friday movies, and it was the final chapter. It was like the epic culmination of the first 3 movies, and everything just came to a head. And it was a very, if you look at Jason from Part 2 to Part 3 to Part 4, the character kind of evolves and it becomes more brutal and more angry, more threatening.
He's getting tired of people's shit.
Yeah, tired of letting.
He just got hit in the face with an axe. So.
Yeah. But it's it has a lot of really colorful characters. I love Teddy and Jimmy. You know,
The Double Mint Twins.
Double mint twin.
I like Jimmy and my dead fuck.
yeah.
Look, I have issues with this movie. Like the hiker who's looking for his sister. They've said he's looking for his sister who's in part 2, which was 2 days before. So this is actually not even Friday the 13th. It's Sunday because those 3 movies take place a day apart. And there's just things I like the movie overall, but it just over the year I don't think it holds up as well as like Jason Lives, for instance, or even the 7th one. But that's just my opinion.
This is for the Friday 13th episode.
Ted White is amazing though as Jason.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And what is Axel watching on the fucking TV? What is that?
It's like some 1930s weird porn.
No, not what Teddy's watching later on. I get that. That's what Axel's watching. The girls are like bopping their butts in a circle.
Yeah.
What is that? All right, number 21.
Number 21
Jesus.
is Shaun of the Dead. That was on mine.
That was on mine.
It was on mine.
Enjoy, guys.
Are we into the 3s now? Because what we do is like every time we get higher, it's more of a
people.
edit on our
Absolutely
list.
not on my list.
So it's on 3 of our lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on mine.
Is it on Seth? Did you?
No.
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 Jared,
So
me, and you.
Seth
Okay.
has class.
Who wants to talk
Oh,
about it?
I love that. I love that movie. I absolutely have no class.
Well,
I never get tired of this movie.
watch it as much as I did in 2004.
I did. I bought this movie at the mall like the day it came out, and I'm not even joking. I watched it like every single freaking day. I love this movie. I still watch it. It's just so fun, and that was my first Edgar. Is it Edgar Wright? Is that his name?
Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great filmmaker. Everything he's made, I've loved. I haven't disliked anything he's done. Like even Baby Driver
I
was
love
even
Baby Driver.
is my favorite.
Yeah, it was
And-
great.
but you get him and Simon and Nick together. I mean, I love Spaced. I love their TV series.
The
That was a good
space
show,
show
yeah.
was
Space was
really
great.
good.
Yeah,
Hot Fuzz is my favorite.
Hot Fuzz.
I love
Hot
Hot
Fuzz
Fuzz.
is awesome. We were just talking about that, weren't we? Timothy Dalton.
But everything they've done, Scott Pilgrim, I love Scott Pilgrim. So everything Edgar Wright's done, I've been a big, huge fan. I'm looking forward to his new one. If we get to see it. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead was like this. It was just a great. I don't know. It's just so fun. So the characters, the style, the editing he uses, that quick cut stuff he does. The way I've just always been a huge fan of British humor. Big fan of British sitcoms. So it was the arrival of some really tough, like for America. It was our introduction to a lot of geniuses because you had Martin Freeman in it, who, of course, he had a little part, but he's went on to do The Office. He may have been on The Office at that time, or it was around that time.
Yeah, it was 04, 03, 04, something like that.
Fargo. He played fucking Bilbo Baggins.
He was in 2 Avenger movies. Captain America and Black Panther.
Yeah, and
he's
Ron
a great
Day went
actor.
on to play the Tick.
He's watching.
I hope you guys have seen the movie he was in, the Christmas movie. What was that called? Oh, Jesus. It had all the British actors in it. I can't think of what it's called.
And you had the voice of Darth Maul in there as their
Yeah.
roommate.
He's also in Parks and Rec and Guardians.
Yeah. Bill Nye is always great. It's just it looks like he's been bit. I ran it under a coat tap.
He is. What happened to him? He was hot for a long time after this, and now he's kind of
He still does stuff.
Davy Jones and did a few other things. Underworld.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the next. Is yes, number 20, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master.
Yeah, I'm glad I beat Shaun of the Dead.
That's on my list.
It's on
My
mine.
list. Fucking one of my favorite movies of all time. It has to be.
It is not on my list, fuckers.
All right, so we're still in
Nightmare
the
on Elm
threes.
Street is my favorite horror movie, period. This is a close second, probably because When I go to watch a Nightmare, it's this one, Part 4. I fucking love it. I love Lisa Wilcox. I love the entire cast. Danny Hassel, uh, Robert.
She
of
just
course.
had a birthday a couple days ago.
I love it. This is such a good movie. It's the I was 8 when it came out, and the anticipation after seeing Dream Warriors, there was a big anticipation when I first saw the trailer, and I didn't get to see it in the theater. But as soon as the VHS came out, I fucking went hog wild. I was so happy, and I watch it all the time. My daughter knows the Tuesday Night song at the beginning of the movie by heart because I've watched it so many times.
Great soundtrack. That
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Love Kills and all that. Like that's the first horror movie I ever saw in the theaters. I was 12 years old. That was the summer I became a Nightmare fan. Well, I think it came out in October, but that's when I saw
August.
Nightmare 2 and 3. And then that night, I went and saw Nightmare 4 at the theaters, rented the original, and watched it that night.
I wish I got to see 4 in the theater.
Me too.
So I have the VHS here. This tagline on the front: "The most popular cinematic maniac since Darth Vader,"
Yeah.
Uh,
by Joshua Hammer from Newsweek.
That year, 1988, Freddy was everywhere,
Yes.
and he was on the Fat Boys videos, and Will Smith was rapping about him, and he 900 numbers, and his TV show was about to start.
I mean, this was, I think people might say Dream Warriors was the peak. I think this might have been. This was, I think, the highest grossing Nightmare movie, and it came out.
I
August.
think this movie benefited greatly from Dream Warriors
It
being
probably did,
successful
but
and good.
I don't see why people would think of it any less than Dream Warriors. It's a good passing of the torch from Kristen to, and probably partially because what's her name, Patricia Arquette wasn't in it, but it was a good passing of the torch from Kristen to Alice. And I always wondered what a movie with Alice and Nancy would look like, because I love Alice. She's my favorite character in all the series. Yeah, maybe second. I love Nancy.
And just I can't. I mean, other than like The Thing and The Fly and a few others, just a special effects makeup artist wet dream kind of film. I mean, you got all these great set pieces and these great. We talked about it on our special effects episode a lot about the resurrection, the cockroach, the death of Freddy being ripped apart by the souls. Just we got this big, great face-off at the end in the cathedral between Freddy and Alice, and it was just those films were just elevated in my opinion. There was just something about, and again, Rennie Harlin, this was a blockbuster filmmaker in the making, and this movie shows the scale that he was about to adopt when he went and did Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger and Cutthroat Island and all these other big films. I just think it. Yeah, I see some people knock it sometimes, but and Freddy never looked better in my opinion than in that movie.
No, he did. He looked great. Especially, I think a lot of it had to do with the dog pissing him away.
There's a lot of rejuvenating properties.
Who didn't develop a crush on Lisa Wilcox that lasts almost 30 years, more than 30 years now? I mean, geez. She just had a birthday a couple days ago. Happy birthday, Lisa. Love her. I was so nervous meeting her, but.
Chris Hall says Dream Master was the beginning of the end.
No, don't read it. Don't read it.
Why?
We're not talking bad about Nightmare on Elm Street 4 ever.
Well, he also said he ran up a $900 phone bill.
I like that
Freddy
better.
hotline.
I never called it, but I remember the commercials. That might have been also just a side note, one of the bigger years for MTV, because that was the year we got cable and we started watching, or not, we got an 87, but we started watching more MTV right around 1988 when Guns N' Roses started to become big. Because, Dokken did a music video for Dream Warriors, and Vincent Invasion did the song Love Kills for this one. It wasn't as big, but you start seeing more videos.
Yeah, Freddy had a video, and seems like there was one other for that movie. But I mean, you had Sinead O'Connor on the soundtrack. You had it was a good soundtrack. What's it, Drama Rama or whatever it was?
Hands on me. Yeah, I love that movie. That's the one that I always go to if I'm gonna watch a Freddy. It's my favorite of the sequels by far. It's better than Dream Warriors. Bam, I said it.
Number 19 is.
You heard it right here.
Number 19's on my list. I know it's Seth's number 1.
Oh, American Werewolf in London.
American Werewolf in London. Yeah.
Probably the single greatest werewolf movie ever made.
Is that on all of our lists?
It's not on mine.
It was on mine.
It was on mine.
And it's got one of the longest fucking titles of all time.
Well, it's a send off to An American in Paris, isn't it? Or the Gene Kelly movie. What is it? American in Paris? Isn't it?
I have no clue.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, this is your show, buddy. This is it.
Let's go, Seth. This is your movie.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about, the effects and the makeup work and how well they are, but there's a lot of other things I really like about that movie too. As far as being a werewolf movie, it's pretty unique to have him see the ghost of his best friend and all of his victims. I liked how I liked the character of Dr. Hirsch. He was I think a great supporting character, and I like how it was kind of perceived as David seeing Jack as survivor's guilt, and with him being a werewolf, Dr. Hirsch went with lycanthropy, the actual disease. So it was kind of cool that those elements were kind of brought into it and explored a little bit. I just, I really like the character of Dr. Hirsch, how he was just doing his job. He was satisfied with what the police report said.
He was more than doing his doctor's job. He was getting into the investigation.
Yeah. Well, he started believing David, and then he started doing his own investigation. Obviously the effects are great and everything, and then it's got a very upbeat soundtrack. While this movie is pretty tragic. I mean, the movie starts with two guys riding with a bunch of sheep. By the end of the movie, they're both dead. But it's got the songs that play with everything is very tragic. And one of my favorite scenes is in the porno theater. When he's having the conversation with all his victims, and they're all, telling him different ways that he can kill himself.
They're all smiling. Oh,
yeah. Electric shock.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Car crash.
I think to me, this movie has two of my all-time scariest scenes of all time, which is the opening when they're on the moors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Stay off the moors.
It's so scary. It's so tense.
Yeah, like the look on their face and the way the camera pans around them.
Yes.
You feel that paranoia there.
So wonderfully handled, and then the subway scene is terrifying to me. That gets me. And then even the scene where he has the nightmare with the Nazi werewolf guys killing his family, and then it tricks you with her, and all of a sudden it bursts in, starts stabbing her. I didn't see that kind of. It gets me now. I still gets her every time, and you feel it. You feel his reaction, oh, it was just fuck or oh shit, exacerbated. I was it's such a fun movie, and Jenny Gutter is always great to look at, and she's a good actress, and and this one of the greatest lines of all time: "A naked American man stole my balloons." Yeah.
It's definitely one. It's well, not one of it. I think this is not my favorite werewolf movie, as we've talked about with Silver Bullet, but I love a good cursed werewolf movie where the person it's cursed, not like The Howling, where they embrace it, and the effects are legendary, and it's a really great movie. I love the soundtrack, as you mentioned, because a lot of it has to do with the moon. I don't know if anybody ever noticed that, but that was one of the best things about that is I think the genius of John Landis, who was also responsible for three people's death. But sorry, it's a good movie. It's got another grim ending, and it's almost 40 years old, so it's okay to spoil the ending.
Easily my favorite werewolf movie. There's nothing even comes close for me.
There's something about Silver Bullet for me, and it might be.
I like Silver Bullet, but that teddy bear werewolf doesn't cut it, man.
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
Silver Bullet's my number 2.
Yeah,
So.
but the church
I like the
scene
story.
alone in Silver Bullet's amazing. You got to admit that church.
I like
scene
the
is a
story, and Silver Bullet had a huge influence on my new film, so I can't say anything about it. But yeah, the werewolf sucks.
A lot of werewolves suck. So, but this one does not.
This one does not.
This one does not. Neither
This
do
is
the
terrifying looking werewolf with that great face. That Rick.
Plus, we just talked about the transformation scene is the benchmark, and still to this day the best transformation scene for a werewolf for probably almost any movie ever, other than maybe The Thing. But I mean, the transformation scenes in that were amazing, but this is a little bit different. That is, you could feel the pain that David was in while he was when he looks at his hand, he's freaking out. You see it stretching. It's like, God damn, that looks like it hurts. What a great scene.
Okay, number 18 is. Did we talk about this one? I think the Reanimator. We did Stuart Gordon episode. That's what we did.
Yeah, that's on my list.
It's probably on my list too. That's one of the first movies that ever scared me.
Definitely on my list.
Yeah, it's another one of those legendary movies, and I'm glad that I make fun of Keith quite a bit about not liking '80s movies, but thinking he's all about the '80s movies. But I'm glad he likes this one. There's so much fun with this movie.
It's become one of my new favorites. I absolutely love this movie. I love the score too. I love all the music in it, even though I know it's very similar to Psycho, which has been mentioned. It was supposed to have credits or credit to the person in the credits. They didn't put them in the credits. But
even the way it does is Saul Bass is like the opening, like even the animation stuff is totally Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thieves.
Thief. No, that's a great movie.
Yeah, and you get great performances all around. I mean, even Barbara Crampton, but of course Jeffrey Combs is amazing. That scene where he's in the class and he breaks the pencil, it's so good. I love that scene. And then, like I said, there's a lot of it scared me. I don't know if it was just I think it was people coming back alive. This is the first time I'd ever seen anything like that when I was a kid. And the scene in the morgue when it comes back alive, he uses the brain, whatever saw.
It goes right through his chest.
That's what got me when I was a kid. And you know, seeing these Stuart Gordon movies as an adult has been like, what is it called? Like facing my fears in a way. And it's great because I saw Reanimator when I was like 21 or 22 again. And
it's kind of a retrospective.
Yeah, it's another one where I look at it, I'm like, why was I scared? And why did my mom let me watch this when there's a severed head going down on a girl naked on a table? That's not my problem. Good movie. And the doctor, I can't remember the actor's name. He doesn't get enough credit, I think. He is superb in that movie.
Gale, right? Something.
He has such a Bond villain look to him.
Yeah, he does. All right.
Okay, number 17 is the Fly remake.
That was on my list.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Yeah, sure, it was on mine too. I mean,
the Fly remake was on mine as well.
A superb movie.
We're into
I'm
the
gonna keep saying superb.
horror people movies.
You're a superb manager, Joe. Say it again, Lucas. Superb. So, okay. First of all, I don't think we can. We talked about effects. The effects and watching the transformation of Jeff Goldblum into Brundlefly are amazing. Okay, Jeff Goldblum alone was amazing. I mean, again, this is another movie that has. I don't know. This is probably Cronenberg's best movie. Am I wrong in saying that?
I haven't seen enough to say, so.
It's one of my favorites.
It's got to be up there. I mean, I think back
definitely in love with Rabid, but yeah,
I do. I love Rabid very much myself, but I think this might be his finest movie. I mean, it's a remake that is almost completely different. I mean, the premise of him trying to do teleportation, like Andre or whatever, from the original. The original is a great movie itself, the 1958 Fly. but they took this to a whole new level, and it is one of the scariest movies. I mean, the tagline "Be afraid, be very afraid," or whatever it is, something like that, is exactly right. That movie, the effects can fuck you up, and when he's, how Brundlefly eats, oh my god.
I didn't see the movie a lot. I need to revisit it. Every time I think of The Fly, I just think of Martin Lawrence's comedy bit about it.
What does he say?
You've ever seen it? He's just talking about how he may love his girl, but if she's like falling apart like he was, because she stays with him, because he stays like if me and my baby are rapping and her ear falls off, I can't hang in there. I can't.
I'd be out the door.
But he's got a whole bit. If you haven't ever, it's like he did. It's back when he was really coming up as a stand-up. It's hilarious. He talks about the Fly going to the bus, waiting on the bus because he couldn't drive, and
it's I wonder if that's on YouTube somewhere. That sounds funny.
But that's something I need to go. I need to watch The Fly again. I've been meaning to because it's just. I mean, as far as Cronenberg, I've never been big into the body horror thing. That's one of those genres I'm not huge into. So Cronenberg, when I go for Cronenberg, I'm more into a history of violence, Eastern Promises kind of.
Vigo.
Yeah.
Vigo. Yeah.
And the Dead Zone. I love the Dead Zone. Yeah. Number 16 is Too Low. It's The Exorcist.
Oh, wow. 16.
Yeah, this was one of the ones that like completely slipped my mind when we made our lists.
Same here. I realized right after I submitted it, and
I said, "Come on, Seth, put it on there because it's low." But it's on mine for sure.
Mine too.
Yeah,
I think it's on mine. I don't know how anybody could forget that. It's been labeled, and I think rightfully so, as the scariest movie of all time.
I had it at number 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna check and see where who had it ranked. It's definitely one of the greatest horror movies of all time, and I don't know if it's still scary to some people, but it is. Nate has it at number 11. I had it at number 9. And Jared has it at, let's see, you didn't number yours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you misspelled it. Cool.
Whatever.
Scariest movie.
I was writing out a lot of movies that
when I was doing a find and replace on my list, and it came up with 2 answers, so I had to try to look on your list to find it. So,
scariest movie ever made.
Scariest movie ever made.
I have not seen anything scary.
I don't know that there could be anything, and that's why I think Exorcist 2 gets such a bad rep, because how do you follow up the scariest movie ever made? You can't. And I just watched the Exorcist: The Beginning the other night, the prequel, and it's not very good. Just throw it out there. I'm gonna watch Dominion later, but yeah, it's the scariest movie ever made. I mean, I've talked about it tons of times. If I ever got to go back in time to watch one movie with an audience when it was released, it'd be The Exorcist. There are videos on YouTube or all over the place about people's reactions to the movie after they've seen it or while they watched it, passing out, throwing up, all kinds of shit. No other movie has had that kind of response, as far as I know.
And just different people believe the devil was in that celluloid. It's like this is the evil film,
right?
And just like Dick Smith's makeup work on not just Linda, but on Max von Sydow, who was like, I don't even know if he was 40 then. I mean, maybe
he was young.
He was
still
40. He was 40. I think he was in his late 30s actually at the time. This movie just I can't. It's one of the only movies I can't casually watch. I can't just sit on and have it play while I'm drawing or whatever. It's just too upsetting to me. And I'm not even a religious person. I know a lot of people who aren't religious don't really have that big of effect from the film on them.
Not generally, no.
Yeah, but that I guess because I did grow up in a Christian family and world, that it was instilled in me, that the devil was this thing, and it was, but just, I mean, it's William Friedkin, one of the great filmmakers.
That was actually something I was going to bring up. What effect it has on people if they're religious or non-religious. Because I didn't grow up in a religious household like whatsoever. So like I don't. The movie doesn't really. I didn't see that movie at a young age, but when I did see it, like it freaked me out a little bit, but it doesn't like scare the hell out of me. I just see it as another like monster movie. That's how I look at it. Like this
it
girl is
just,
becoming a monster.
it just depends on, again, when you come to it,
Hmm.
the age you come. Like, I was 12. I was really new to horror. I had not watched horror films. It was, we're talking 1888.
Mm.
So I'm only 15 years from this movie coming out. And it was just, I mean, yeah, the further you get on, we've seen so many possession movies copy it. We've seen so many, like, you can't do a possession movie without mimicking what we saw in The Exorcist.
Yeah.
It over and over and over. So by the time you see it, it's not as alarming as even like you see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is getting the same treatment nowadays. People just don't get how heavy those films were when they were released and the way they affected an audience at that time who had never seen any of that shit before.
Yeah.
And The Exorcist was just it just took people. And Rosemary's Baby is the only movie that even could have prepared anybody for that thing, and that's not even close.
Yeah, no, not even close. And I love that movie. I was just checking to see when it was re-released with the extra scenes because that's when I saw it. I saw it in the theater when it came out with the
Yeah.
extra scenes. And let me tell you something, seeing The Exorcist for the first time in the theater, and I knew, like my mom told me about it in the 70s when she saw it and how scary it was, and I knew kind of the reputation, but man, that freaked me out, especially I wasn't used to seeing very many things in surround sound, but there are sounds that you can hear in the background and just quiet scenes. And I don't know if it's intentional, but also they added the spider walk into the one I saw in '98. And let me tell you something, that terrified me to my core. And it's not that much of a thing. My niece can do it, walk back, on her hands
The
backwards.
sound design in that is
Yeah,
so good. But like when I read the book, that scene's in the book, and it's the only thing I've ever read in the book that totally made that hair stand up on my arms. Like it's because she's spider walking around the whole apartment, and the she's following. Like I think they first see it because she's licking the nanny's ankle, and she's walking around behind her, and everywhere the nanny goes, Reagan's following her like that, walking around, and it's just like, oh shit.
such a great scene.
Yeah.
But even so, there are things in it, being 18 and 17, however old I was when I saw it, that completely shocked me because I'd never seen it at this point. And your mother sucks cocks in hell, her, the masturbation scene, seeing this stuff as a 17-year-old in the 90s, it shouldn't as maybe not as affected me, but I'm like, motherfuck, man, this is hard to watch because I think she was 14 when they made the movie. Linda
12.
Blair,
She's
12.
12. Yeah.
Either
And
way, I
that
mean,
that that and that scene where you're talking about the crucifix scene, and that's the same scene that the head turns around, like
yep.
all hell is unleashed in that scene, and it comes at the perfect time because it's like this slow build because uh, Lee J. Cobb has just been there talking to her, and he's like, she's letting him go. She's putting his coat on. He goes, "You're a very nice lady. Could I get an autograph?" It was really nice fun. She closes the door, and all of a sudden, she just screams, runs upstairs,
That
and just
scream.
shit's everywhere, and she's on the stabbing herself, and everything's just going awful, and it's just you just hit in the gut with it, man.
One of my favorite scenes, it's the shit that comes out of Reagan's mouth. Do you know what she did? Your cunting daughter. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. But no, one of the things that early on that gets me is when she's going through all the testing, and they stick the thing in her neck and it just shoots out the stream of blood. I'm like, oh, god damn, they did this shit for real. She was preparing her for a CAT scan or whatever. But yeah, man, it's an effective movie, and it's one that you got to watch multiple times. My kids say it's boring. Both my kids have seen it,
Wow.
and they say it's boring. Here's the thing: we're not religious at all, so they really literally have no background for any of the religion aspects. And I think if they knew about Satan and Christ and all this different stuff, then that might change their mind. I had a friend who was hardcore Pentecostal who went and saw it with me before that, and he was filling my head with all this revelations mumbo jumbo that really messed me up. Sorry for anybody who's religious. I'm not at all religious, but You know,
Yeah.
you're hearing the stories of Revelation and the seals and all that stuff, and then going and seeing The Exorcist, like it really adds a little bit to it for me. So, The Exorcist is a legendary, and it should be in the top three, in my opinion.
It's it's a very good movie and a very good horror movie. It definitely deserves to be in probably the top 10. But like some of you guys, I'm not religious at all, so it did not have an effect on me. A lot of people I know, like a lot of my friends, like from high school, talked about it as being the scariest movie they've ever seen, and I saw it and I wasn't scared.
I've had people
But
tell me they laughed through it.
yeah, I mean,
Beetlejuice for one.
yeah, and it's all subjective too. I mean, what scares us is
Yeah.
different across the board. I'm more
Sure.
affected by like home invasion stuff.
Yeah.
I am by like demons and
So
possession.
what would you say is the scariest movie of all time?
I don't know.
Too hard of a question.
Think about that, because it would be different for everybody.
Yeah,
I don't. Most horror movies don't scare me at all.
Yeah, that's
So-
that's my thing. Whenever
Yeah.
I see on Facebook someone's like, "This movie's not scary," I'm like, "What movie did you watch?" And like, since after you've become, God dang it, I cannot talk. What movie have you seen that actually scares you? Unless you were a child, like, I don't know of any movie that
Yeah.
actually scares me unless I remember back to when I was a kid.
I get really frustrated with like people who hate on modern horror and they say it wasn't even scary. I'm like, you're 35, 40 years
Yeah.
old. You've been watching horror movies since you were 8. Did you really expect it to be scary?
Are
Like,
many
they
horror
say it
movies?
well, the trailer said it was scary. Well, to the normal person, it is fucking scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The normal person is not prepared. Is
You're
scared.
scaring the straights.
Yeah.
How did the rest of them react in the theater? That's the question.
I always say horror movies can be creepy, they can be weird, they can fuck with your head, but they're not scary.
No. Well, I mean,
They don't-
They can
it-
give you.
They can give you
that
anxiety.
feeling. They can give you that feeling. Like It Follows, The Autopsy of Jane Doe are a couple that got to me in the last few years. So they can be scary, but or not scary. Maybe
Yeah, but they're
Unnerving.
not making you
Yeah.
like. You're not terrified. You're not
Yeah.
hiding
Nine-
behind
nine-
shit.
the only movie that terrifies me is Terrifier. So
90% of the movies on our lists are not terrifying and scary. They don't scare us. We just love them. We enjoy them.
exactly.
They are entertaining.
I love you, Chris Hall.
Chris Hall.
So anyway, let's move on to number 15, because we're really going to be like getting into the cream of the crop here.
Okay, yeah. Number 15 is The Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn.
I spoke too soon when I said cream of the crop.
Well,
It's on my list. I know it's number 1 for Keith, so it's all
yeah,
yours.
it's my favorite horror movie.
Keith is a tool.
I'm sorry. It's literally my first memory of horror ever. It's probably the one horror movie I've watched more than any horror movie ever. I literally watched it, I think, last week.
I feel bad for you.
I love this movie. I don't know what it is. I like. It's
No,
like
it's a fun movie.
it's like a
just
celebration for me when I watch it. It's like people who used to go and watch Rocky Horror Picture Show in the theater. Like, that's how I treat Evil Dead. It's like,
It's a good way to describe it. It's
Yeah.
like the Rocky Horror Picture. Yeah, it's a
Why
it's
don't
a
they
movie
do
I can
that?
see an audience.
Why aren't there Evil Dead fests where
That'd be
they
awesome.
are there? That would be pretty
That'd be
amazing. I
awesome,
mean, I'm
right?
joking around. I like Evil Dead 2. Don't crucify. I do like the movie quite a bit. It's one of the first horror movies I showed my son, and he loves it.
Just the whole journey that Ash takes in
Yeah.
that beginning, where to the
What's
point
your
where
favorite part?
talking.
my
Talking
favorite
to-
part is whenever
Yeah.
he. Sorry, Nate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
I
want
was saying,
everybody to answer this question.
let's say, yeah, my favorite part is like when he starts to go crazy.
Yeah.
It's when he starts to look around and he has that mirror scene, and then literally everything in that fucking cabin's going batshit crazy. And like,
Whenever-
and I love the part when he looks at the lamp and he's just like, he like bends
Yes.
at the lamp. I love that.
That's my favorite part too. When he sits in the chair and it breaks,
Yeah,
and
me
the,
too.
the deer laughs at him, and he's
Yeah, he just
Everything's
looks, everything's fine, and he's like, he's finally gonna take a breather and relax, sit in this chair, and it just fucking breaks.
Now, did you ever notice? And I'm sure most people have. Did you ever notice in the shed Freddy's gloves?
glove.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Do you know why it's there?
I don't remember why it's there.
Do you know why Evil Dead's shown in Nightmare on Elm Street?
just out of courtesy to each other?
No.
Oh, Wes Craven, Sam Raimi.
The Hills Have Eyes poster was in Evil Dead.
Yeah, in the basement.
Yep. So they kind of did it a couple times.
And
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
If I remember right, in The Hills Have Eyes, there's a Jaws poster in the RV, if I remember right, and that's why Sam did it in Evil Dead.
They should keep that going.
Yeah.
They should keep that shit going. If I ever make a movie, I'm gonna put your movie's poster in it, Nate, and then the next one you make, you can put my poster in there.
Well, I did that review on the Morbid Colors movie, and Matthew said, "Hey, there's a little sneak peek in there, and my Wish for the Dead posters on the wall of one of the main characters." I didn't know.
That's something I'd like to see more in horror movies. Is paying tribute to other movies and other directors like they did in those movies.
I'd say the last time I saw it was probably the Child's Play remake. They had TCM2 on the TV, even though it was played out of order.
That's not really like that. Kind of hidden, like not. I don't think everybody. Yeah. Evil Dead 2 is great. I give it a lot of crap, mostly because I don't think it's the best horror movie of the '80s. So.
Okay. It's a good movie, but it's just
Nightmare on Elm Street is.
It's basically a remake of the original that's just funny.
Why is there a bird right outside my window?
Number 14 is also too low, in my opinion. This is like my number 5, I think. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The original.
Well,
I had
that's not in a good spot.
So that wasn't on my list.
It wasn't on mine either.
Oh, it wasn't. It's all y'all's fault.
It's a great movie, but it's not one that I watch a lot. When I think of Chainsaw Massacre, I'll go with part 2. The dinner scene just drives me nuts.
Why?
Is it the screaming?
Yeah,
that's the best part of the whole movie.
Yeah, I have to say that part gives it doesn't annoy me, but like it
drove everybody crazy, even the fucking cast.
It's supposed to. It's supposed to drive you crazy.
What was it like? Gunnar Hansen talked about shooting that scene, and they were like, they had been doing it for like 20 hours, and it was hot and it stunk. And the heat was rotted, and he's like. He goes, there's a part where like they're yelling at Grandpa, and Gunnar goes, I actually felt like, yeah, kill the bitch. Kill the bitch.
I mean, it sets up one of the best endings in horror too. I mean, Sally jumps out of the window, and I love that movie so much. I love when she thinks she's safe, and he puts a fucking potato sack on her, starts beating her with a broom. Franklin is a shitty character, but he's very memorable.
Well, the whole Kirk Pam scene is one of the greatest horror scenes of all time.
That
aluminum door slamming shut, and then her walking up.
3 things I wanted out of the remake, and one was the dinner scene, because that is very iconic, and that is one of the things I think of immediately when I think of Texas Chainsaw. By the way, it's number 4 on my list. Number 4. That scene, I love him getting hit in the head, and then the door slamming shut is just so fucking intense. And then her getting put on the hook and falling into bone room. How they didn't even add that into the new one. It's like, what the fuck, man? Those are the iconic things from that movie, and they couldn't even, allude to them in their new bullshit movie.
I absolutely love Gunnar Hansen's performance as that he is like this scared dog or something. He's like frightened when he goes and looks out the window and he's kind of freaking out. Like, where are they all coming from? Yeah. That's the thing. Like, this is a home invasion movie from the other side. They keep coming into his home.
Well, it's great because you think of Leatherface as, because I think 3 of them were out when I saw the first one. But you think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, and Leatherface is the big villain and everything. But when the cook comes around, he's not. He's the little bitch. And then you got between Chop Top and the Hitchhiker yelling at him, calling him Bubba and stuff like that. The Leatherface is like a scared little puppy dog with a chainsaw.
Follows orders.
Yeah, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's so gritty. It doesn't even feel like it's a real movie. It looks like
it feels like a snuff film or a voyeur. It's very the shots are very like voyeuristic. They're from afar. feel like you're spying on what's happening, and just the music is not even music. It's just like audio. It's like sound design, and then the generator and all these little things, the touches that make it. I love the statue in the beginning with the corpses on the graveyard. I love the old drunk in the tire when they go to the graveyard. It's just, to me, it is the quintessential arrival of American horror. To me, that's how I classify that film.
I think Joe Bob said the same thing.
It is, because like everything before that, horror took place in manors and
Gothic, very Gothic.
Castles and shit. Like by the time Texas Chainsaw came, that was pure Americana. I mean, I think Clive Barker said that Ed Gein Americanized horror.
It's the America that nobody saw, because Psycho is an American horror movie, and there are other ones, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the America nobody wants to see, really. Thanks, Ed Gein. All right,
and thank you to Summer School for probably turning me on to the movie.
Summer School. Think about that movie.
Yeah.
So Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Exorcist are bona fide top fives for me.
They're
time, and they're number 14 and number 16. So number 3 better be good.
What are we getting into? Number 13 is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Oh, that one. That's high.
Bullshit, garbage movie.
No,
it doesn't have Michael Myers in it.
I literally thought post about that earlier.
That movie is number 50 on my list.
50?
Who all had it on their list?
I think it's on every 4 of us.
I have it on my list in the top 15.
It's number 23 on my list.
49 for me.
So all of us. Do you have it, Nathan?
No, I don't.
Okay, so 4 of us.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love it though. It's not because I don't like it. I love it. It's like
it's
my
a great movie. Tom Atkins, great. Tommy Lee Wallace. It's a really good movie. Great invasion of the body snatchers type of feel to it. And actually, Tommy Lee Wallace mentions that he pays tribute to that movie with some of the guards and how the town of Santa Mira is. So, yeah, it's a great movie, and I don't understand. I do understand, actually. I just take that back. Why people hated it, but now it's breaking news. It's no longer underrated, people. Right, Seth?
It's a treasured classic now.
Seth, you love it, don't you?
What's that?
You're okay. So I'm going when we talk about Halloween movies. I always want to talk to you and Nate because you guys are big Halloween guys. He lost my interest a long time ago.
Wow.
No, I'm curious. So because you're one of our Halloween guys, well, how do you feel about 3?
I absolutely love part 3. I watch that one a lot. I also know I approach it from the understanding of what they were trying to do when they were making it, from John's perspective of how Michael Myers was dead, how slasher sequels weren't really, they were just starting to become a thing back then, and audiences wanted Michael back even though he got shot in both eyes and caught an explosion. And it's kind of a shame that people trash Halloween 3 the way they do. I see it every day, multiple times a day, on all these different Halloween fan groups. There's always
those are not Halloween fan groups. Those are Michael Myers fan groups.
Right? Yeah, well, that's true.
John and Tommy Lee had artistic integrity, man, because they didn't want to repeat themselves. Like when they talked about part 2, Tommy's like, I have no interest in that. Why would I want to do that again?
Yeah.
And John's like, I don't want to fuck it. Why? What? Why are we gonna make a sequel? And then like he reluctantly did it. But with 3, they're like, hey, let's do something new. Let's do something fresh, like artists want to do. They don't want to just do another fucking slash. I mean, that's what I like. I love Halloween. I'm a big Halloween fan. But I don't feel like there's a lot you can take it. There's no, where do you take it? It's just the same. This guy in a mask is going to break out again on Halloween and kill more people in the same fucking town. Like, how can this happen again and again? It's like John McClane is constantly getting touched by. It doesn't make sense, but it was. It is a shame that it didn't become an anthology. That we didn't get a lot of great. Because I mean, there's a lot of great horror Halloween. I mean, that was what's so cool about Trick or Treat was we got a refreshing take on Halloween. It just wasn't slasher movie or. So yeah, I like it. I've always liked it. It's not in my top 50. It's in my top 100. But it's my fourth favorite Halloween movie.
I think it deserves to be in the top 100 overall. Period. It's a really good horror movie. It's got great effects, great scenes. It works.
And it feels like a John Carpenter movie, even though it was directed by him.
Yeah, it really does.
It feels more Carpenter than Wallace.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but yeah, even the score. Or who did he do the score? Or
he did the score.
Okay.
They both known each other for. I mean, I think they're both from Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Chris Hall has a good theory of why people don't like Halloween 3. He says people hate Halloween 3 because Tom Atkins will fuck your daughter. Accurate.
That is accurate.
All right.
I love that whole pulp noir line of "That's a stupid question." Where you want to sleep? This is a great line.
Yeah.
I love that line. Okay, number 12 is one we've covered. Hellraiser. We did a whole episode on that one.
Great movie. We don't need to say much about it. Let's move on to number 11. Hellraiser's great. We all love it, I think. I love it.
Episode, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, number 11 is The Thing, the remake.
Right?
Wait, the John Carpenter remake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the John Carpenter.
It should be number 1.
I was going to say it should be at least top 5.
It's a great movie, not just because of the great effects. It's nothing bad about this movie. It's got a wonderful cast. It's got tension. It's got everything you could ask for, with the exception of naked boobs. Ugh, number 11.
I'm the one that, I don't have it in my top 50.
This rivals The Exorcist.
So Nate was
spot.
sandbagging.
Yeah, this rivals The Exorcist for the top spot, in my opinion, for best horror movie of all time.
It's low on my top 50. So.
Okay.
Sandbaggers.
It's like 38.
This is the best John Carpenter movie. Okay. We can move on if you want.
Move on. Okay.
We did a whole effects.
All right,
so.
top 10. Here we go. Number 10 is the original Night of the Living Dead. I know that was on mine.
That was on mine as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't think it was on mine.
We only had 4. The top 4 are the only ones that all of us had. So I think we're in the
let's
4.
see, Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead, I got on there. Night of the Living Dead. I preferred the 1990 remake. I don't care. I like Barbara as a proactive character more than a sniveling.
I do agree with that.
Smack in the face.
Well,
girl.
that character, portrayal.
I like Tony Todd better in that role, and the guy who plays
Dwayne Jones.
No, not Dwayne Jones. No, and God damn, I can't think of his name now.
Tom Tolles.
Tom Tolles. Yeah, I like those two better in that role. And of course, we can't have that movie without the original. But it's a fantastic update, and the original is amazing. I love the original. Don't get me wrong. It's just I prefer the 1990 version. I'm in love with Tony Todd though. So, I love Tony Todd. He's got to be one of my favorite actors of all time.
So we did a whole episode on the Dead movies, so
yeah,
I don't think we need to talk a lot about them.
Listen to the show host over here.
Number 9 is Alien.
Yes.
And that was on mine.
Should be in the top 5.
That was in my top 10.
It was number 2 on my list.
Let me tell you why it's not in the top 5. It's not on my list.
No.
Oh shit. See, that's what I mean. Like when you face yourself listing off movies, shit's gonna fall through the cracks that you don't realize.
If it was on my list, I bet it'd be closer to number 1. I like Alien, don't get me wrong. It's just not one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's a great movie. It's a great horror movie. Great survival horror movie, but it's not one of my favorites. That's why it's left off my list.
Alien's one of those few movies I look at more in a like the way it was made perspective, because like every time I watch it, I'm just in awe at like the set design and the atmosphere that they created. There's just so much going on in like every shot of that movie, like in the background and all the
I
freaking
think
buttons and LEDs.
I think that's one of the best things about that movie too, is the atmosphere.
And yeah, the atmosphere and just Giger's uniqueness as a designer, as an artist, like it just it's a terrifying film. The atmosphere in the film, the patience. Ridley Scott is just one of the best filmmakers, and this is still my favorite Ridley Scott movie. I don't think Blade Runner's better. I like
No, it's
Gladiator.
not. I think Blade Runner's overrated, honestly.
I think it's still Ridley Scott's best film. It's one of the scariest films ever made, I think.
Yeah.
I got to watch it last year in theaters for the first time. They re-released it for the anniversary, and it was way more effective in the theater, mostly just because of all the freaking flashing lights and strobing effects that are in that movie. Like, it was disorienting me, which sounds like a bad thing, but it kind of put you into that space. Like, if you were in that ship that close to those lights, like, you would be disoriented as shit trying to look for this giant alien while you're trying to be quiet, and there's all these lights flashing in your face and you can't see anything.
So I'm down to 2 left on my list. Just looking at it right now.
All right, number 8.
Keith is done now, I think.
Okay.
No, he's got one.
Number 8 is on my list. Is Psycho.
Psycho. I'm pretty sure that's on mine. Yeah, it's number 21.
It's number 6 on mine.
It's like it's in the like 7, 8 on mine.
Yeah, 7. I think Psycho is probably properly placed.
I got to see that on the big screen finally last year before.
I saw it last year on the big screen.
And like seeing it all over again. That's why I love seeing these films on the big screen. It is a difference. People argue that, oh, I can stay at home, I can watch them. I'm like, fuck no. Seeing a film in a theater, seeing it that big, you notice things. You see things you've never seen before.
It's an
hear
event.
Things you've never heard before.
Yeah, it's an event. Like I finally got to see Psycho and Jaws on the big screen last summer, I guess it was. And man, there's nothing like it. I haven't seen many black and white movies. I think the last black and white-ish movie I saw was Sin City in the theater. But watching the Psycho on the big screen, my kids watched it and really loved it. And maybe they were cheesing me on a little bit, but well,
it still works. Works.
It does. It really does. I mean, I know what's going to happen, but at the same time, seeing it on the big screen was wonderful. And
that's the only thing I wish I had not, like, because by the time we came along, the shower scene was so iconic.
Oh, yeah.
We knew about it before we even saw the movie. So
yep.
I wish I had experienced it then, not knowing Janet Leigh was going to die. That whole trick, that whole.
Yeah, and that's another one I'd like to see with an audience for the first time.
Wait, so Psycho's our number 9?
8. Alien was
8.
number 9.
Yeah, that I remember seeing that shower scene in Vacation before I ever saw Psycho.
Yeah,
so like
I
I
was
knew
gonna
about
mention
it.
It's been parodied all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Culture.
I mean, it's in Looney Tunes back in action, for God's sake.
One of the cool things is Jamie Lee Curtis got to play her mother in that
Tunes.
scene in Scream Queens. Kind of a recreation of it, which I thought was really awesome. I also like that show.
I remember watching like first couple episodes of it, but
I adore
that scene in the parlor where they talk is my favorite scene in the film, and I love. And apart from like, with the exception of the shower scene, I love the cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I love the cleanup sequence where he's cleaning it up and then the tense of when he's trying to sink the car in the swamp.
Yes.
And it doesn't sink.
I love his face. He's just like looking around.
It's this great thing that happens in film where we're actually rooting for the bad guy. Like we're like, oh shit, oh shit. It's like, no, we want his ass to get caught. He's a fucking psycho.
The car's not sinking.
I love that
that's
smile he makes, or that smirk he makes when it finally like sinks all the way.
And one of the things, that Hitchcock always did was sometimes make you actually pull for the protagonist
I think the
or
very
the antagonist.
the final scene where it's him, and then you hear his mother's voice not wanting her to fly. That I think that might be the most powerful scene in the entire movie. Honestly,
A lot of filmmakers, like a lot of upcoming guys like Carpenter and those guys hate that ending though. I think who was it? It was Peter Bogdanovich actually approached Hitchcock,
I won't even touch this fly.
angry at him for putting that scene in because he didn't like that felt they needed to explain why Norman did what he did. They felt that was a mistake. That it was more terrifying.
I hope Hitchcock flipped
Not
him off
giving
and said,
him an
"Make your own
excuse."
damn movie."
Well, I mean, people make that same explanation like with Halloween and the remake. People are mad that they gave a reasoning for Michael doing stuff instead of him just being a force of nature and not having any reason at all. So I mean, I could see people's frustrations, but
That's why I hate that movie. They
I
gave
like
Michael
knowing
a face.
things.
Yeah, Psycho's a legendary movie, and I think beginning to end, it's great. Especially since it throws you off because you do think the entire movie is about Janet Leigh,
Mm-hmm.
and then 30 minutes in, boom, she's gone.
Yeah, I just watched that. I don't remember Sunday
And
maybe.
Anthony Perkins is superb.
He has. I just watched it in the second one. I need to finish 3 and 4, but like he has even in number 2 where he's a little bit older. Like he just has this like innocence and like trustworthiness in his face.
He's charming.
There's a very juvenile feel about it.
Yes, juvenile. That's the word for it.
You sympathize with him. Okay, number 7 is my all-time favorite. It's Ray's all-time favorite. It's the only title that was number 1 twice on our list.
Oh.
And that is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
I think that was it's number 7 on my list.
That was in my top 15.
I'm not happy.
Not surprised.
I think all of my movies above this have been said except for 2.
But Nightmare on Elm Street's better than all the movies that come after this. It literally is. It is. It's so different than anything we got in the 80s completely. And I think, maybe not based on our opinions, but I think it gets kind of belittled by its sequels.
That's the wonderful thing about assholes. Everybody's got a different one.
Yeah, well, this asshole's opinion's right. It's one of the best horror movies.
Oh.
So
Ooh.
It is. How could not? I mean, Nate, please.
He's like, Freddy guy, help me.
It's my favorite.
Can't even that. It's number 7, and then number 3. Seriously?
Okay, yeah.
Number 3?
Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't care where it falls. We can't get wrapped up in that.
I'm wrapped up in it because number 3 is what it is.
I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is again my favorite. I love everything about it. I love we got a final girl who actually chases the monster, makes booby traps. She's
a hero.
She is a total hero. She is trying to save everybody's life in that movie. She's trying to save her parents. She's trying to save Johnny Depp. She's trying to save Rod Lane. She's trying to save, and no one's listening to her. She's again and we have this ultimate bully because that's what the films translated to me is I was being bullied when I came to these films, and this was about facing the ultimate bully. That's how they take away his power. I always tell you, how do you get rid of a bully? You show them that you're not afraid of them, and that's what Nancy does. She turns her back on him. So it's just a great metaphor for that. It's just it's one of those terrifying things where this is a monster that you can't escape. Everybody has to sleep.
Yep.
It was imaginative. It was creative. The monster had personality. He spoke. He did things that were chilling. And here's a monster that cuts himself up in front of you and laughs, which tells you can't hurt me. There's nothing you can do to stop me. I'm going to cut my fingers off and laugh about it. I'm going to, and you're in my world and you're hopeless. And just the whole imaginative thing with Tina's death, that whole sequence is my favorite sequence in any horror film. Is Tina's death, from the alleyway to that, for him coming through the wall trying to get to Nancy. The imagery, Tina in the body bag in the school, is a beautiful, chilling image. The bathroom scene is an iconic moment with the glove coming out. The glove itself.
The glove itself is iconic.
There is nothing. There are two great movie.
What does Jason and Michael Myers use?
Settle down, Ray. Settle down.
What do they use? They use a fucking knife. He's got knives on his fingers.
Oh my god.
The greatest movie weapons ever. The lightsaber and Freddy's glove.
Oh look, and I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. Go figure.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The glove. I mean, the glove. It's just a genius thing. You know, it's like it shouldn't work. He's in a red and green striped sweater, and it works. The hat, everything about it, just magically worked. And then you put Robert Englund in there, who
and it's terrifying. I mean, the whole thought that you can't escape this killer because he comes to you in your dream. You could get away from Jason and Michael Myers. You know,
all the other Halloween knockoffs were just Halloween knockoffs. This movie dared to do something new.
It's original, very original.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you that. For sure.
Shit. And he's a real villain. He is not a sympathetic character. He is a child murderer, molester.
He's a piece of shit.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, I see. Based on Jared's attitude right now, I have a feeling it has to do with Freddy's fucking dead. Yeah, but there's Freddy's dead. Yeah, that really makes the first one look really low, in my opinion. Let's not forget about Freddy having a baby. Come on.
We could talk about this one all day long, but it's it's my number one.
I'm just surprised one of my top.
There's only one movie that I would accept
has not shown up yet.
There's only one movie that I would accept that above A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'll tell you when we get to it.
Number 6 is on mine. Is The Shining.
That's on number 3 on my list.
It's on my list too, but it's a little bit lower. I think it's
number 5 on mine. I think
The Shining is a top 10 horror movie for sure. It's number 11. It's a top 10, but it's on my number 11.
It's your Baker's 11.
It's I mean, I got Candyman, The Exorcist, Halloween, Hellraiser above that. So, I mean, The Shining is a great movie. I read the book, and I prefer the movie. Just saying. What about you guys?
I'm a Stanley Kubrick nerd, so
dude, yeah, the movie's fucking amazing.
It's amazing. Jack Nicholson.
Did you ever watch Room 237?
Yeah.
Anybody who's never seen that doc, that's a must doc.
Yeah, that doc is really good.
It's so damn good. So many conspiracy theories throughout Kubrick's movie, and it makes you think either he just did that on accident or he's a complete genius. I think he's a genius.
Atmosphere. That's what that movie is. It's like she uses the hotel as a character. That was something I got the most from that film, and it's the wide shots he uses, the steady cam shots, all those things, just highly effective. There's nothing more chilling. The Exorcist is scary, but when I watched Danny ride around in that trike with that sound design of going over the wood and the carpet and the wood and the carpet turns around the corner. Brass. The twins are standing there. Those twins. Come and play with us, Danny. Fuck it, I'm dead. I was scared. I love Twister a lot more because of its Shining's in it. That's a movie I turn to as a filmmaker to study and watch over and over and over. There's like 3 or 4 or 5 movies that I watch when I'm making a movie, and Shining is one of them.
That's a good one to choose. Yeah, that's a good one to choose for that. Just if we're keeping it score at home about the movies that my kids love, they love The Shining. They think it's scary and effective. They love it. But they both sat and watched it with me and Dr. Sleep actually, both back to back not too long ago. Plus, I stepped away for a second. Did you mention how amazing Jack Nicholson is in the movie? Did we even talk about that?
Who?
Jack. My favorite scenes in The Shining are the scenes where he's talking to Lloyd.
Love it.
You know,
that whole talk with
him
at the bar. A little slow tonight, isn't it?
I love. I mean, he's got to be. I've never thought about it, but he may be one of my favorite actors of all time. From Cuckoo's Nest to The Shining, Batman. You know, but his performance in the movie is.
He's someone we're familiar with, and he's still terrified.
Yes.
And that's something. And I love the whole scene on the stairs with Wendy.
Yes, that's my favorite scene.
The whole like, well,
my
I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in.
Bash them right the fuck in.
And that's another thing that kind of stands about that movie, because you don't really realize until afterwards how much Shelley Duvall like emotionally went through just filming the movie.
Yeah, no shit.
Scatman Crothers, I've always loved Scatman.
Oh yeah, he's great.
The scene where he gets hit with the axe, it looks like Jack's it looks like he's actually hitting him with the axe. He's putting all the weight of the axe into that fucking in the chest of Scatman Crothers, which we talked about during the high tension show, which it reminded me of that scene.
It's a direct homage because they do it exactly like.
But because he put all the weight of the axe into that person's chest. But yeah, that's another. There's this scene. This movie is filled with so many great scenes. It's another one my friends would come over to watch. Is The Shining on VHS. Two tapes. It took 2 tapes to watch that movie.
All right, our top 5.
Top 5, everyone. You ready?
Fuck.
Take a deep breath.
Oh fuck.
This is another.
Ray's about to get mad.
It's another one that I turn to watch and study as a filmmaker all the time. It's Jaws.
Yeah.
I think it's the last one that's only on 4 people's lists.
Jaws is
number 4 on mine, I think.
number 2 on
It's
mine.
number 2 on mine.
Jaws is
or maybe 3. It's number 3 on mine.
Transcends horror. It's more than horror. It's one of the best movies of all time. And you know what? I'm out. I'm done with this episode. All my movies are done. No. Jaws is great, man. It's a great movie. And I remember watching a documentary or an interview with Steven Spielberg about him being worried about the shark and it looking fake. And one of the best scenes in the entire movie is...
They did have a lot of fucking problems with that shark.
Yeah, they did. But the scene with Quint getting eaten by the shark, and it still looks damn good, you know?
Richard Dreyfuss didn't want to do it at first. He goes, that sounds like a great movie. I don't want to make it. It's going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Make it. Just great actors. I mean, that trio of actors together on that ship, or on that boat, you know, it's movie magic. Come from a kid who had everything riding on it. It's still one of Spielberg's best films.
Seth doesn't have it on his
Staying a
list.
lot for somebody who's as good as Spielberg is.
I think it's his best film. Like, in my opinion, it's his best film. I mean, obviously,
I'm a big Raiders fan, but Raiders and Jaws.
Schindler's List and Raiders, and yeah, he's done some amazing films.
But everything about it, the characters, the town itself, it's like 2 films, really, because you get this great family thing. Like, my favorite scene in the whole movie is the scene that would not make it into a movie today. It's the scene at the dinner table after he's been slapped by the Kintner boy's mom.
He's drunk and his kid's following everything.
He asked his kids mimicking him, and he says, "Give us a kiss, because I need it."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think a lot of parents know what that's like.
That's an adorable scene.
It's a great scene, and like I felt that, like, your kid can smile at you or make you laugh or kiss you, and a lot of problems just go away.
And they use that scene brilliantly in one of the best sequels of all time, Jaws: The Revenge. Joking, but no. It's a very effective scene. And then, but the thing is, we can talk about great scenes, because even the Kintner scene, both of them, where he's being eaten by the shark, and then when the mom, you know, smacks him in the face, and the scene right after that when what's his name shows up,
Clint.
No,
Hooper.
Yeah, when Hooper shows up and brings the wine,
I love the scene with the wine where he's like, just those little things like, is anybody eating this?
Yeah.
What's eating it? And just Roy Scheider's quiet, like just listening, smiling, and just letting them go. I mean, it's just there's so much brilliance. Like Spielberg just really knew just how to. I don't know. It's just every time I watch it, I fall more in love with it.
It's an anytime movie for me, and it's one that like I love Star Wars so much, but this is one movie that can, no matter how bad of a mood I'm in, it can bring me up. I love it. It's got a great ending. It's everything about it. It feels like it's a television, like a television show in a way. You're seeing how everyday life is on Amity, and then, you know, I love it. And I like just the simple little scenes like the when the secretary walks into the office and talks about the kids karate.
I knew they were karate.
I love that. It was such a good movie.
Yeah.
And I do like the sequels, all four of them myself, or all three of them. I mean, or no, it's past 2015. Shouldn't there be like 80 of them now, according to Back to the Future?
Right? Yeah. For Back to the Future too.
We'll move to our top four. This is the top four starts where all of us had it on our lists. That's why these are at the top. So all five of us had these in various places on our list, but that's why they are ranked where they are, because the whole collective. I didn't think that the top movies should include movies that not all of us had on our lists. I think I would have been wrong. So that's why these made the top four. So some of them are controversial. Some of them are like, yeah, of course, that's where they belong. But number 4 is Return of the Living Dead. It's on everybody's list.
Oh. That one was like 24 on my list.
Yeah, Return of the Living Dead's a fun movie. I mean, it was number 15 for me. It's a fun zombie movie. It's the opposite of what Day of the Dead is, and they came out in the same year. It's like you got a dreary, no hope type of zombie movie. And then you have Return of the Living Dead, where
it was in my top 20.
They talk, the zombies talk and send more paramedics, and then you get a great dance number from Linnea Quigley on top of a tombstone because they want to go hang out in a fucking cemetery to wait for Freddy. Let's do that.
And the older I get, the more I love watching Clue and what's his name? James Karen.
Yeah, James Karen. Yeah.
Who's the mortician? What's that guy's name?
Don Calfa.
Yeah, there's so many.
He was great in Weekend at Bernie's.
I watched this movie. This movie.
Have you ever done art for this movie?
I did a Tarman T-shirt.
I
think Fright Rags or Creepy Tees put it out. I don't think I've done anything else. But I did. This movie has a really special place for me because I watched. My dad and I didn't watch a lot of movies together. We did, but we didn't watch. And we stayed up one night watching this on cable. I was like probably 86, I guess. So I was 10. And Mom and my sister were sleeping. And we watched it and had such a blast with it. Because I didn't watch a lot of horror movies at the time, and he wasn't like a horror guy. But it's just a fun movie. It's just so funny. Like everything about it, send more paramedics, all that shit. And then it got to the end, and they're like, yes, where are we going to blow up? And it's like Louisville, Kentucky. Well, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Like we just like, that was like, really? They could blow up Louisville. I don't know. That's just a fun. Everything about it. The zombies are great. The Tarman is so unique.
Tarman's amazing.
On it.
The way he moves in that suit is amazing.
Yeah.
There's the scene where he gets his head knocked off by Clue and the baseball bat. The yellow man running around. There's so many things. There's one thing I want to point out that I may be the only one who laughs every time he hears it. But when the military guy gets home and his wife, who looks way older than him, how was your day, dear? Crap. It makes me laugh every time he just simply says crap every time. And then he's like, what's for dinner? She's like, I think she says,
pork chops.
What's that? Yeah, pork chops. It's like, I had that for lunch.
Like,
what?
I wish Clue had more horror films. I mean, he did Feast, which was great with his son. Put him in Feast. Like, I absolutely love him in this and Nightmare on Elm Street 2 so much.
Yeah, threw me off.
When I finally met him last year, and it was just so thrilling because he was He's so fucking funny. He is so hilarious. Like he was doing a show with my buddy. At that show, he was setting up as another artist, Brett Gray, and so we're loading in. We're walking in, and Clue. This is like summer, and Clue's got this big pea coat on and a cowboy hat on. He's walking in, and it was hot, and so he looks at Clue and goes, "It's hot out here today." And Clue goes, "Now you tell me." That's like so him. And when I was meeting Clue, Bruce Campbell came over and fucked with him and sat down and didn't like this. Talk about how Clue is the greatest character actor of all time, and you give Clue a line, he's gonna do it. Like Bruce did his whole Clue Gulager impersonation right there at the table. I was a little pissed because he interrupted me because I was like just right there to talk to Clue. Finally, after 30 years of wanting to meet him. And Bruce Campbell interrupts. I was like, well, if you're going to get interrupted, I guess Ash interrupting you. You're going to get interrupted. And he had, of course, his Saturday Night Fever white suit on. But I wish we had more Clue Gulager in more films, like a Tom Atkins type, where he did even like these great quirky characters.
I used to hate him because of Jesse's dad in The Nightmare on Elm Street, But then when I saw Return of the Living Dead years later, I'm like, oh my god, I love this guy. He's barely in the movie at the very beginning, and then they have to call him after they break open the trioxin tank, and he comes in and steals the motherfucking show for the rest of the movie. He does. He becomes the best character. I mean,
my wife doesn't know the films that well, so when I told her the line about the parakeet exploding in part 2, he says, "Is that cheap birdseed you've been buying?"
Cherry bomb.
Well, that boy needs a good goddamn kick in the butt.
And then he almost falls off the ladder. Yeah. He's great.
Like that scene where he makes him go upstairs and clean his room is like totally my dad.
Oh, he didn't even turn his back. He didn't even turn his back to Jesse. He looks at him for a second. Go, and Jesse stomps up the stairs. Goddamn. And
right now, son.
Seeing Return of the Living Dead made me like him so much more in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Like, knowing who he is in a different movie made me just love the actor more, because I didn't know who he was, at the time. Yeah, this is a good, great zombie movie.
Okay.
Anybody else got anything to say about Return of the Living Dead?
It's fun as shit. I love the half dog.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a good prop to have.
Okay.
Somebody in a horror group I'm in, he literally bought that at the beginning of the year from some collector, the original prop
That's
from
cool.
the movie. I was like, I want that.
Number three, the most controversial. It's in my top 10s on everybody's list.
Makes me wanna
Scream.
How is this ahead of A Nightmare on Elm Street? How is this ahead of Jaws and Return of the Living Dead?
Somebody didn't have Nightmare on Elm Street on the list.
Thanks, Jared.
I had it on my list.
Scream is kind of high on my list just because.
Number 9 or 10 on my list, I think.
Scream wasn't in my top 20.
Scream is number. Is it on my list?
Scream is my number 24.
It's on everybody's list.
It's number 26 on mine.
41, where it belongs.
I'm sorry.
Scream is not the third best horror movie of all time. It doesn't belong anywhere in the top 10 in any conversation.
But this is personal preference.
In my top
That
10.
said, I do love Scream. Okay, I do. I don't think it belongs where it is, but I do love the movie. It brought horror back a little bit. And
we all can appreciate the film.
It was one of those movies because when I was growing up, I was born when this movie came out.
No, listen. Your generation loves Scream. Loves it. I've noticed that. Anybody born in the 90s fucking loves that movie.
I think it's because it was literally everywhere.
I think that
I couldn't go anywhere without watching it.
Our old friend Morgan, one of the founding members of the Horror Syndicate, that's her favorite movie. And she was born in 1996.
It's I wasn't born in 1996. Like 20 years earlier. But that movie, I went and saw Christmas Day. I think that was the day it opened, 96.
It was like the 21st, I think.
I went like to a midnight showing with my brother-in-law and just fucking loved every minute of it. It's this great murder mystery. It's got humor. It's got scares. It's got a great cast. I mean, it introduced me to a lot of people. Skeet. I didn't know who Skeet was. I didn't know who Matthew. Well, I seen Matthew Lillard in Serial Mom, and I liked him.
One of the worst names of all time.
Skeet.
Come on.
Jamie Kennedy. I mean, it just has great scene. Rose McGowan. I had never seen her before. Drew Barrymore, who I've had a crush on since E.T., since we're about the same age. I think it's one of Wes, if not Wes's best directed films.
Obviously you've never seen The Last House on the Left.
It's a smart script. It's you do not know who it is. Like that's the thing, and the twist ending is great. But it does such a great job, and I don't think it gets the credit it deserves for how good of a whodunit it is, because they constantly make you think that it's Billy, and then they go, no, maybe it isn't him. Like they keep making you doubt it, and then they make, oh yeah, it is him, and then when he's like, oh, it is, well, of course it is, and then all of a sudden Stu shows up as his accomplice. You're like, holy shit, who saw that coming? And then they have that great scene in the kitchen where they're talking about it.
So good.
And stabbing each other, their whole plan, and the whole, it's a love, I didn't get it, I get why people don't like it, but at the same time, it's such a love letter to slashers. Kevin obviously loved these movies, and it doesn't, I mean, while it pokes fun at them, Neve Campbell does the same shit that she says is stupid in these movies, and she's such a great final girl. She's one of the best, in my opinion, Sidney Prescott.
She survived the most movies.
David Arquette as the goofy deputy is great. I mean, it's got so much.
Courtney Cox was amazing in that movie.
Courtney's great in it. The cameo with Wes and the Freddy.
Not you, Fred.
Henry Winkler is the principal, and Linda Blair is the news reporter, and it's just a horror. I think it was one of the most entertaining movies. I think it was like the perfect date movie when it came out. I don't think you could have picked a better movie to take a date on.
I was 16 when it came out, and I remember coming back from Christmas break in high school, and everyone was talking about it. It was one of those movies that, like, I don't remember a horror movie being that hyped that I just needed to see really badly. And I'll never forget everybody. Well, you're a horror guy. You like horror movies. This is made by the same guy who did Freddy, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But I can't go. My mom's not going to go take me to see it at this point, and she didn't. I had to wait for it to come out on VHS, which I believe was shortly before Part 2 came out. So, but I wasn't let down. It was a good movie. I really, really enjoyed it. It's not number 3 though.
I don't think it should be number 3, but
I blame Keith completely.
I'm sorry. I was like waiting for this movie to pop up like this whole show, because it's like, I know this is gonna.
But everybody had it on their list, so the only difference if Keith had put it lower or whatever, it would have been number 4. Return of the Living Dead would be number 3.
That is true.
It's a good horror movie, and in my opinion, it should be in the top 50 for sure, not the top 3. It's not that great. And
well, we talked about defining movies, and we agreed it was the best of the 90s. Yeah. And how can you not put the best film of the decade?
Well, the best of the decade, and defining the decade, I think, is different, because Friday the 13th is not the best of the 80s. It's just
you're right there.
A Nightmare on Elm Street is the best of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Oh, baloney.
I know we lost a lot of followers, so let's go on to number 2 and get them back.
We'll see.
Number 2 is my number 2 on my list. Is Halloween.
I think I had that at 15 on my list.
I have it at like 35.
So with Halloween being number 2, and anybody who watches this has got to be like, what the hell's number 1 then? Because I'm sure a lot of people are expecting this to be number 1, and I like Halloween. I give it a lot of shit, and mostly it's because of I think it's I've said it many times, I think it is the face of horror. I think everybody knows Michael Myers and Halloween. like I've said before, there are people who have it the Halloween theme as their ringtone. October 1st, they put that on, and some of them don't even know what the hell it's from, but they know it's how it's just almost as recognizable as the Star Wars theme, you know. But Halloween's a great movie, and it did a lot for horror. I mean, if not for Halloween, so then again, if not for Psycho, we wouldn't have movies like Friday the 13th and one of Jared's favorites, The Prowler.
Like I said, the score is one of the greatest scores, not just in a horror movie, but any movie.
Well, it helps the movie.
Yeah, it does. But again, also a very low budget independent film that I think it was the highest grossing independent film of its time. Um, the mask. I mean, who would have thought painting a William Shatner mask would be so chilling? It's so creepy of a mask. That mask, I think Michael scares people more. Like if you cosplay at a show, more people are disturbed by Michael than Jason or Freddy or anything.
Jason's more like a comic book hero, man. You know,
Yeah, like
Michael Myers is totally different.
Yeah, there's just something really scary about him. That movie takes me back to the 70s and early 80s of my childhood because I don't know, because John's from Kentucky, I'm from Kentucky. I guess he captured the suburbs. I just feel like I'm kind of like Days of Confused takes me back to that time. Halloween kind of takes me back to going trick or treating as a 4-year-old in 1979 for the first time. That's what I think, that film's very nostalgic, not just for the film, but just the time frame of it, the atmosphere and the clothing, everything about it just immediately takes me back to the 70s in my childhood in the suburbs in middle America.
They did a good job pulling off making it look like Illinois. I literally live in Illinois, and they did a really good job of that. But you know, we talked about it last episode, I think, about casting decisions and why certain people, Christopher Lee didn't get cast as Dr. Loomis, and
Thank God.
yeah. I mean, as much as I love Christopher Lee, Donald Pleasance is, to me, he's the most important character in the story. I know they're after Michael Myers and he's after Laurie, but you know, it's like a chase movie almost. But like Dr. Loomis holds everything together, in my opinion.
It's easy to say that now, though, but I mean, Christopher Lee's an amazing actor.
Yeah,
he is, but like, I'm glad he didn't get cast in that role.
I just don't think he would have been a great Loomis.
No, I think the legacy of the series would have been different. You know, even if they made
probably wouldn't have been around for him.
He wouldn't have stuck around. But like, even if they did, think about Halloween 2, 4 through 6 with Christopher Lee as Dr. Loomis versus. I don't think it would have been the same. They may not have made another one. I think Donald Pleasance was the best part of that entire series, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love the chase scene. It's especially the scene where she tries to get help from the neighbors and they turn the light off on her, which is, I think, based on things that have happened in reality. Which is really her reaction to them turning the light out on her is one of the best reactions and scariest things, because she realizes there's no adult nobody's gonna help me. Like they're not opening their door. They're not, like, what am I gonna do? Yeah, it's a desperate cry.
That scene always pisses me off. Like, why the fuck wouldn't you open the door?
Well, there was a case, I think, around that time in New York where this woman was raped and murdered, and they said that like 80 people heard her and no one came to save her. Well, that's why they tell women to scream fire instead of rape, because no one comes to save you. People ignored it, and but it's just a great.
Seth, you got something to say? I know you do.
I know he's a Halloween guy.
It's just, I mean, on a technical level, Halloween is so well done. The way that the film is framed, the way it's lit, the way Carpenter utilizes the foreground and the background, it's a very effective horror movie. There's a lot of stalking going on in Friday the 13th as well, but it's not done nearly on the same level as Halloween. Halloween, it kind of creeps you out. It's the way Michael appears in the distance in the background, or like one of my favorite moments is when Annie's talking on the phone in the kitchen with Paul, and she's walking back and forth, and you see Michael in the background, and then she walks back, and then he's gone, and you don't know where he is. I love Carpenter as a filmmaker. He's got a very artistic eye, and it's just a very effective horror movie, I think.
It's almost like that should not work, to have a guy stand in the background like that all the time, but it does.
Yeah.
Like I said, it sends that message, which is the whole point of that last sequence of just showing the house and the places.
The places he's been.
Because he's always there. He's everywhere, and he's always. And when's he going to strike?
Yeah.
And that's the genius of Halloween, the tension, the suspense building up. The only Friday the 13th movie to me that did that was the first one. First one's the only one that has that patience of letting Alice go through the mundane, where we know as the audience that she's in danger and she has no idea, and he lets it breathe, where a lot of the Friday the 13th movies didn't do that. And the slasher movies didn't do that after Halloween and Friday the 13th. They all kind of started to go to kill, 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 kill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many body count can we get here?
Yeah, by the early mid '80s, that became the thing. I mean, even Friday the 13th was all about kill count. And Halloween, how many people die? 5? I mean, after other than his sister,
Judith and Paul. No, not Paul. Bob and Annie and Linda. I think that's it. 4 people.
And the Phelps Garage guy.
Yeah, that guy.
No keys, but please, my.
And even Nightmare going back to Nightmare. Nightmare didn't have a huge body count. He wasn't following that trend.
You don't need to have a body count. Audience expect that from Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But even in Nightmare, you don't need a big body count.
And what sucks about the Friday the 13th body count is a lot of them were just like, guy turns around. It's like, you don't even see anything. It's just like, ding, 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 ding.
In the second movie quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Number 1. It's on my list. It's on everybody's list. Dawn of the Dead.
Wow.
I almost didn't put this on my list.
I was afraid that this wasn't even going to make the list because it went all the way down to the end.
Dawn of the Dead.
It was on everybody's list, and it was the highest of it.
It's funny. I forgot. I forgot how the list broke down, and when we talked about Night of the Living Dead, I was like, I guess Dawn of the Dead was earlier. But
Dawn of the Dead was number 1 on my list.
Yeah, Jared has it as number 1.
I'm 28.
Like maybe 6 or 5.
For me, it was number 5. Keith, did you have it on your list?
Yeah, it's 28.
28, Nate, it's number 6. Seth, I don't know, did you have it on your list?
Yeah.
It's, where's your list?
It sounds like it's pretty high on everybody's list.
No, it's in the top 10, top 6 for 3 of us, so.
Yeah, that's why it's number 1 for sure.
Yeah, number 10 on Seth's list, so, I mean, yeah, it's not the best zombie movie ever made, but it's probably
I agree with that.
The favorite. What's that?
I think it's the quintessential zombie film. I think it's
I think so too, but I don't think it's the best. I honestly think Day of the Dead's the best of all of them because a lot of it has to do with effects, but Dawn of the Dead is the favorite and probably is the quintessential. There's so much about this movie. I told you, it's the first movie that ever scared the shit out of me. Just by that scene where the guy bites his wife or whatever in the neck and the arm, and the whole bodega scene or whatever at the beginning of the movie is so great. Go ahead.
I came to it late. I bought the Anchor Bay VHS director's cut when it came out. We were going to Target and buy it. Dawn of the Dead was one of those movies where I was a little I had an anticipation of watching it because I wasn't a gore guy and I didn't know how. I didn't realize the movie was as fun as it was.
Yeah.
The reputation of the film, I didn't realize that it was going to be such a blast. And that's what I love. I love any movie that takes place in a store. Like I love career opportunities at set
Yeah.
Target. I love all this, but like because it's so relatable. So, and I think George had that in mind anyway when he decided to set it in the mall, going on that tour of it, going, oh, this will make a great movie, a good place. Um, I really love. What I love about this one more than the remake is the time frame and how long it takes that they're there, that they decide to clean it all up, that we only have those four characters who we get to know and really care about. We do get to see their relationship. We do see that they bond and they really do care about one another. We see the separation of the couple, of how they're kind of just maybe they're not even in love anymore, but they're there, and it's like who else are they going to be with, and then like my favorite scene in the whole movie is when he's up there playing tennis on the roof, and we've kind of forgotten
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, and then the tennis ball falls out in the parking lot, and you see that they're still there, and it's like that. It's like this. Oh yeah, they're still out there. This is still a horror movie because it becomes kind of fun for a bit, and
Yeah, they take money out of the bank and take a picture with it.
yeah, it's got so much. Just the part where they're like trying to go through J.C. Penney's and go downstairs and upstairs to trick the zombies. Hey, come up here, and then they're going down there. All that, the music, the score, everything about it is just. I remember just having a total blast watching that movie for the first time. Uh, it's just
It's super fun.
great independent filmmaking.
Just great filmmaking in general.
Yeah. Goblin's soundtrack had a huge hand in that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it does, and it's used differently in different versions. Like it's more,
Argento's European
yeah,
version.
it's there more in that cut than the director's cut or whatever. But
Yeah.
any version you get of Dawn of the Dead is a great version because Dawn of the Dead it has this weight to the title more so than Night of the Living Dead. I think that's why it's the one that is the essential quintessential zombie movie because I think there's a lot of weight to that title, and maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe it's me that feels the weight of the title of that movie, but I don't know. It's a legendary movie in my opinion, even with the blue zombies
So
or
it's
or
super
gray.
fun. I love Roger the most in that movie. I like it when he's starting to go nuts and he's like every scene he's just going yeehaw and fucking
Come on, let's make another round.
yeah. I love that.
And when he's
I like
behind, he's in there. We got it. We got it. We got it all.
yeah I like whenever he's about to turn and he's just yelling for Peter, and Peter is the best character in my opinion.
Peter's so good in that.
He is. Ken
And
Foree is so damn good in that movie. I mean, everything about him and the line delivery of when there's no more room in hell.
what a fucking great line, man.
While he's wearing a fucking mink coat. I mean, he's the coolest dude ever.
He's a
Period.
boss.
Yeah, and not. I mean, there's not a weak link among them as far as characters go. Some of my favorite parts I've mentioned before were like when Flyboy is trying to shoot the zombies and Roger comes over and just hits the gun up and takes him out, and and there's other
Never pointed a gun at a man. Yeah.
there's other scenes with Galen Ross that are just as good when she stands up and says I need to learn how to fly that, and she doesn't want to be just like Barbara was in the Night of the Living Dead. Why is my camera still?
She actually wants to be able to
She wants
participate.
yeah, it's such a good movie. I mean, there's so many levels of that movie and underlying themes of consumerism and all that stuff, and of course Tom Savini's gang breaks in, and that all hell breaks loose, and you get the best zombie walk ever from Flyboy.
Oh, his zombie is so good.
Yeah, there's nothing bad about this movie, and this goes for every cut of the movie. And each cut of the movie, there's three of them that I know of. Each cut is different and brings something different to the movie also. So if you haven't seen each cut, you should.
Yeah, I'm excited to get the new Blu-ray so I can watch the other cuts. I've only seen the directors, I believe.
Hopefully, it has a commentary, George, because those are a pleasure.
Yeah, it has all the old commentary. It has some new stuff, but it has every cut of it, and they're all rescanned of the film negatives. So
yeah, I Dawn of the Dead is a top 10 for sure. I don't know if it's number one, but it is definitely a top 10 horror movie of all time in my opinion. It's an awesome movie. I love it. It's spawned. I think it's more like Night of the Living Dead is obviously responsible for the modern zombie, but I almost could argue Dawn of the Dead may be more responsible for the modern zombie than Night of the Living Dead is.
just because it's more like it got put out more, or
No, because there's been more imitation of that movie than Night of the Living Dead. You know, and it's a grander scale, and you see more of what's going on in the world. Night of the Living Dead, I feel like the whole epidemic is wrapped up by the end of the movie. They're burning the corpses and all that stuff. You don't get that sense at the end of Dawn of the Dead. It's a prolonged thing at the end of Dawn of the Dead.
That scale and Dawn, this from the very opening of at the news station, and that whole. I love that close up on the carpet, the red carpet pulling out that music cue. Which I think you only get in like director's cut, or which one is it? Like this, the Dawn of the Dead jumps up and chaos. Yeah, like that's the only cut I like, just because of that part. Like I can't go without that opening, that music cue, man.
George and his wife are in that scene.
Yeah. So. And then the doctors, the guy with the eye patch, and the other guys, they get up and kill. They fight. They get up and kill. Like they just got so many levels of. It's just a wonderful film, and like I said, even like to throw a fucking pie fight in there, that just shows you the recklessness of some people. Like, could you not look at those people having a pie fight as some of these people out there protesting right now? What we're going through, like not taking it seriously, and you know,
and plus at that point in the movie, I feel like they've just gotten to the point where like we don't care anymore. Like they're not really that big of a deal.
Well, they're like Vikings. They're pillaging through villages. Those guys,
or they just feel invincible because they've been able to overpower. Now they've kind of screwed themselves by cornering themselves in some way. Where
they got cocky.
They got too cocky on it. And
another thing I kind of want to mention with Dawn of the Dead versus Night of the Living Dead. The word zombie apocalypse comes up more nowadays. Whenever anything zombie, it's an apocalypse. You never got that sense with Night of the Living Dead. You did with Dawn of the Dead. And Dawn of the Dead's not actually a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. George Romero said he's just making another zombie movie. That's what it is. It's just another zombie movie. And that's why I think it's more influential to anything zombie that's come since.
It's not a direct sequel by...
No, George Romero says it's not a sequel. He says that in the commentary.
It's a continuation, though. I mean, you can see the progression.
But based on the creator, they're not sequels. I understand. I'm in the same boat. Because everything gets progressively worse throughout each movie, all the way up to Land.
I mean, they all are progression because you got night, dawn, and day.
Yeah. Well, I know, and then there's Land, but based on what he said in the commentary for Land of the Dead, and none of them are sequels. Just repeating what he said. Maybe by that time in 2008 or 9, whenever he recorded that, he was drunk. Who knows?
It's like, I'm just going to put misinformation about my own films out there just to one last fuck you.
Okay. So we've made this list. We've gone through it. And I don't know how close you guys paid attention to your lists, but there was 10 on my top 50 that didn't get called.
I know quite a bit of mine didn't.
I'll go ahead and list them off while you guys are looking at. The first one was House 2. And then we have The Endless. Then The Neon Demon.
I don't think I've heard of The Endless.
Lucio Fulci's Zombie, Predator, John Carpenter's Vampires, Tombs of the Blind Dead.
Well, that's a shame. That's a good movie.
Slither, The Prowler. And my last one is Rogue.
I don't think The Omen made it. Evil Dead 2013, did it make it?
I think that was on. It did not make it, but I think that was on mine.
You're Next, House of the Devil didn't make it. Inferno didn't make it. Fear the Living Dead didn't make it. Did Creature from the Black Lagoon make it?
No. Wolfman was the only Universal, I think.
No.
Wolfman and Son of Frankenstein.
Okay.
Dracula was in there too.
I had
Dracula was.
The Fly 58 on here also.
Yeah, I think I've got like 12 that didn't make it, but
I don't know. I don't have my list, but I have kind of a roundabout where Death Proof was on mine. King of the Ants.
Forgot all about freaking Death Proof.
Us was in my top 50. What We Do in the Shadows was on my top 50.
It's a good one.
Gremlins was in my top 50. Pumpkinhead. No.
Oh, that's a good one too.
I think those are the ones in my top 50. There may have been more I'm missing here. I know, like, everybody's top 30 made it.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Well, my 30, Halloween 2 did not make it, did it? We didn't talk about that, did we?
I don't think it did.
Yeah, Halloween 2 for mine. Army of Darkness. Ready or Not, was that one that any of us picked?
Didn't make it.
Yeah, Ready or Not. Green Room. Friday 13th Part 3. The Collector, American Psycho, The Faculty, 13 Ghosts, Evil Ed, The Stuff, Cabin in the Woods, and Tremors. I think those are the only ones that didn't come off my list.
Tremors?
I fucking love Tremors, alright?
I do too.
I love that movie.
It's a guilty pleasure for me.
It's not, it's not
Too
a guilty
many
pleasure.
people like that movie.
People
Ray just
love
hates
Tremors. We want to get into guilty pleasure. People love that movie. I hate that movie. I tried. I did not like it. My wife used to make fun of me about Tremors. Every time I'd walk in the room and see her watching, I'm like, oh, come on. And then I just turn around and walk out. I just never liked it. And then I tried watching it for my 500th in my 500, and I just didn't. I couldn't get into it. I do like Fred Ward quite a bit, though. All right. So, is there anything else we want to go over before we've been on almost 3 hours?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, I know Keith hadn't seen a lot of the movies we listed in our top 100.
Mostly in the back end, or in the the first 50, because there's not a lot in the 50 that he hasn't seen. Maybe
there's five. There's 5 out of our 100 that I have not seen.
5. That's a good thing. I should look at and see if there's any that I haven't seen. I think I've seen every one of them.
The Wolfman remake I haven't seen.
I think that's a must.
The Girl Who Walks at Midnight, which is one of Nate's picks. Mandy, which is on my list I want to see. The Hitcher.
There's some you've never seen. The
Hitcher?
Hitcher?
Surprising, I've never seen.
Yeah, I haven't either.
There's a bunch I want to go back and rewatch on my list.
And Doctor Sleep is the last one.
I should have Shocker in a couple of
But
days.
that's just because it's new.
You watch Doctor Sleep, your twin brother's in it.
Yep. And I'm going to have to watch the director's cut that's 3 hours long.
Who's your twin brother?
It's saying the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Jared.
I don't think he does, but okay.
So there's only 5 of them out of the 100 that I haven't seen.
I think I've seen them all, but there's a couple that I definitely want to rewatch. I definitely need to rewatch Freddy's Revenge and Dream Warriors and Dream Master and Nightmare on Elm Street. And there's 5 Nightmare on Elm Street movies on this list.
Good gravy.
Yeah, which franchise had the most?
That
Nightmare.
It had to be Nightmare.
Yeah,
all the Romero's.
right.
Well, not all of them.
So I think Friday had 3.
No,
had 3.
Friday had 4.
4. Yeah.
Oh, was it all 4?
No.
We had 7,
4 Fridays.
6, 4, and...
That's not what I meant.
All 4 of the 12?
No, we only had 3 Fridays, didn't we?
Yeah, it was 4, 6, and 7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 different Dracula movies.
Nightmare, we had the original
2,
4, 3, and Nightmare.
Yeah.
5. Which that's how it should be.
that proves my point that
That's
out
right.
of those three big three, that Nightmare's the
And
best of the
out of
three.
Halloween, what do we have? The original
Three? We had
four,
three
three.
of them. Yeah, 1, 3, and 4.
Halloween 2 didn't make it.
Yeah. Well, Halloween 2's.
I think Halloween 2 was on my top 50, but
It would be
maybe
close
not.
on
Maybe
mine.
not.
I love Halloween 2.
We had 2 Friday the 13th.
Halloween 2 had some of the best breasts I've ever seen on screen. Am I wrong? No.
Josh
I,
Laterno said he loves trimmers.
most people do. A lot of people do. I like when I put on my personal Facebook page that I didn't like trimmers. People were like, I don't even know who you are anymore. Like,
We were old enough back then that we would play games. You remember those lava games?
yeah,
They were trimmer games when
I
we were
know
kids.
kids played that shit. Yeah, but I never got into it. I don't know what it was
Lava
about it that I didn't like it.
It's like lava, but they're trimmers. If you touch the ground, you're gonna get fucking eaten.
I get that it's like a love letter to those '50s, atomic horror type movies and everything. I get it. I do get why people like it. It's just it's not for me.
The first one was good.
Seth tells me not to even bother with the other ones. I bought like a 5-pack or something.
I think
I
I've
was
seen the
all
first
set to
two, and that's
I was
it,
all
I
set to
think.
watch the rest of them,
Yeah.
but Seth's like, don't bother.
I don't think I ever watched any of the sequels, but the first one is okay. Kevin Bacon's fucking hilarious in it.
Yeah. I wish we would have got the show that got canceled.
Surprised Trimmer's not on this list. I don't know. We're going ape shit. We're going ape shit just like Wooly and Dawn of the Dead.
Jesus.
I could see Ray's head exploding. Just Trimmers and Shocker 1 and 2.
I'm gonna go. So I got Shocker. It should be here in a couple of days. I'll see how that goes. I may like it now. I didn't like it when I initially saw it, but
I don't expect you to.
Jared, for you, I bought the Scream Factory. For me, but not for you. Because
Thank you.
It's important to you.
You boys think it's
Well,
time
not
to
just
wrap this
because
show up?
not just because Nate did the work on it, but
Did he do the work on it?
yes.
Mhm.
Shit. Oh, this is funny. Okay, so listen, I ordered the thing from another world today. It's going to be here on Monday. You guys remember when I bought Wolf Creek? That'll be here on the 9th. I bought City of the Dead, which is a Christopher Lee movie. It's fantastic. It's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi.
That's going to be here Tuesday. But Shocker, the one I bought before all of these, is coming May 15th.
Yeah, my orders have been like that as well. I got a bunch of stuff today that I recently ordered, and I still have stuff I ordered like 3 weeks ago I still haven't got.
Yeah, I'm excited to get. I haven't gotten new movies in a while. So, but anyway, yeah. But this is a long ass episode.
Yep.
And combined, I think the whole top 100 is probably a good 5 hours. So let's go around the table and give us some final thoughts on the top 100. We'll start with Seth. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, it's just different opinions, and everyone has them, and all of our lists were very different, so it was kind of interesting to see how this list came together. I forgive you guys for not putting American Wolf in London at number 1.
I was the only one that had it on my top 50.
You're okay. You're okay, Nate. I still like you. The other guy.
I know a good werewolf movie when I see it.
I had it on mine. Yeah, it was on mine.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But no, yeah, this was an interesting thing. That's it. My back is killing me from sitting.
All right, Jared. Any final thoughts?
I thought it was interesting how the last top 10 shaped up. Kind of like to piggyback on what Seth was saying, we all have different opinions, and for the most part, we could probably agree on probably the top 25 films of all time for the most part. But yeah,
Maybe not the order, but the movies that
right.
end with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I do feel bad that I did not have a single werewolf movie in my top 50.
Do you not like?
But
werewolves?
I also did it really fast too, and then I realized, oh fuck, I don't have this, I don't have this, I
Yeah.
don't have that.
I left off Monster Squad. I left off Exorcist. There's other things I left off.
Like if I would had a chance to like do it for like a week long and actually like put some thought to it, yeah. Because I think that this is one of those things where you're always gonna leave something off that you don't think you necessarily.
And it's
want.
probably always changing as well.
Yeah, mine's always changing. I left Candyman off mine originally, and I had to go back in and no, this has got to be. When we did the 20, I replaced something. I think it was Scream actually.
Because that's the hard thing with me with these lists. There's so many movies like I love equally. Like it's hard for me to just like place them above one another. Like especially with them mostly being different films. Because some of them are these big, beautifully shot, freaking awesome films, and other ones are just these fun slasher films that probably have really bad camera angles and just things that aren't good about them. But I still love them equally. But that's my thing. I could care less what's number 1, what's number 6. At the end of the day, I still like all the same movies, and it's just for fun. You could put Birdemic at number 1, and I'd still find it funny and wouldn't care. Because that movie makes me laugh.
Okay, so those were his final thoughts. What about you, Nate?
Oh, I mean, pretty much what they say. There's so many. We all wear these movies on our hearts so much that when you see lists, nothing gets people more angry when they see a list. Top 10, top this, top that, because they expect to see theirs. Mm-hmm. They want it to be theirs. And like I said, everybody's different. Everybody has different stories. Like I said, depending on when you came to it, when you were born, your relationship with other people in that movie, the influence on it. I mean, if you come from a firefighter family, you're going to love Backdraft. You know, I mean, it's just how we're all so different. So I always get kind of peeved and amused by people when I do a list and like, oh, where's this? Well, why? Well, that's your favorite movie. It's not my favorite movie. How can you expect everybody to love your movie? Like it doesn't happen because every movie has fans. Every movie has fans, and that's why it was really interesting. I had fun looking at it and seeing how different we were, but luckily we're all cool with each other. That's why I stuck with you guys, because there's a lot of disrespect in the horror genre and in the community where people don't respect other people's opinions and choices and
like me.
Loves and stuff. Yeah, like fuck Ray, like me. I fucking hate Jones. But like again, like you can't just say everybody has to love my way and everybody else is wrong, and that's just how it is. But there's a lot of people out there who feel that way, and unfortunately, people beat each other up, make fun of each other, mock each other. So, there's movies on this list that I don't necessarily think should be in a top 10 or 100 or whatever, but that doesn't matter because it's ours as a collective, as a community. So that's kind of my takeaway from it is we're all so different, but when we can all come together and laugh about it and joke about it and respect each other, I wish there was more of that healthy relationship in the horror community, because there's a lot of just negativity and
dissent,
and disrespect.
Well, Chris Hall disagrees. He says Freddy's Dead has no fans.
It does. I mean, look.
I like Freddy's Dead.
I do too. I have fun with it.
There's a fan out there.
My oldest daughter loves that one.
I will give you proof that
right.
This is how the world really is. I did the Blu-ray cover. I'm sorry, Chris. I know you I always bring that up, but I did the Blu-ray cover for Halloween Resurrection in Germany, and I got added to a Facebook group of Halloween Resurrection fans. Some of which that's their favorite horror film of all time. Their favorite Halloween film, their favorite horror film, period. So every movie has a fan.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. I want to see that
I don't
cover.
even like. It was just I just got paid for it, man. I don't like that movie.
What is it? This one?
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm trying to wonder how you could make a poster for that movie.
I got a paycheck. I don't care how crappy your movie is. Pay me.
I saw it in the theater and I loved it. Top 5. So,
But again, that's cool. I don't get angry. I don't like mock them. I mean, I'm kind of making fun of them now, but at the same time,
But it's in a joking manner. It's not in a to be a dick
yeah, I'm
manner.
not making fun. Like, if you love that movie, then great. That's what art's made for. It's made to be appreciated and respected and loved and inspiring. So, I asked the kid, I was like, well, I assume that's your first Halloween movie. And he said, yeah. I was like, well, there you go. I saw
Yeah.
Halloween 3 for the first time. I never thought Halloween 3 sucked or was a bad movie because I had no reference to hate on it for any reason. Like, if you come to Halloween Resurrection, cool, you got to see the Shake kill a bunch of kids. Cool, of course that would appeal to you.
Yeah.
Halloween fans bringing in their baggage, so that sucked, you know. Because and that's what happens now. People watch the new Halloween, they're bringing in their baggage. You watch a remake, you're bringing in your baggage. But some kid coming to it fresh-eyed loved Rob Zombie's movies. Some kid coming fresh, loved those movies, and that's what people forget is that you know they're all. It's when you come to it. We all like bad movies,
Hmm.
movies that our parents thought were garbage. You know, our older fans thought were garbage. So I'm just glad that you know we do have level-headed people out there who can have civil conversations and not tear each other down on be spiteful. And so yeah, that's what I take from it is that this is a collective. This is ours. This isn't mine. It's
Yeah,
ours.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our show. Thanks for anybody who watches this or did watch it. I will probably have a transcript copy of this at some point on the website. Maybe a full length video of the whole list of like, I don't know, on the YouTube at some point. Please subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. All of our episodes will be up there at some point. And thanks, Nate, for making all the promos. And I want to thank Keith, Seth, Jared, Nate for being a part of this whole project, and Nate for putting it together.
Yeah,
and,
thanks, Nate, for doing that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and watch the best movie, or I'm sorry, the number one movie on this list, in my opinion, A Nightmare on Elm Street. So, anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Tuesday, and topic to be determined at the moment because I'm not sure if I want to do the topic that was supposed to be the topic now. So, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Go ahead and cut it.